Hello, welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. I'm your host, Kyle. As always, I'm joined by my friends Dan and Matt. This is our 80th episode. I just
realized a lot more
80.
than I thought we'd ever get
episode
to
80,
be fair.
No, I noticed that today, so
it's weird.
Yeah, so we'll kick off like we always do, different things that we've been playing. I got hit was it last? No, it was 2 weekends ago. So
yeah,
the last time we recorded,
yeah,
the last weekend we recorded, the very next day I got hit with the flu that my girlfriend had. So I was out. Thankfully, it only lasted like 24 hours, and so that'll lead to some more fun talk when we get to movie stuff, because I watched some interesting things that I then told Matt, you need to watch this stuff because we got to talk about it.
Golly.
There's one that specifically he's seen now too that it's a mind blowing.
You really
thing,
fucked me up, man.
Yeah, no, I knew it would. But yeah, as far as games go, I had more time to play Avowed, so I am about 20-ish hours into Avowed. I'm at the point now where I've collected the companions that you can get in the game. So now I can actually like switch them out. So you can only have, it's like Outer Worlds, you can only have 2 of the companions with you at a time. I will still say I do not remember the names of 2 of the companions, but the one that sticks out to me is the one that's voiced by Garrus. His name is Kai. He's still probably the best companion in the game thus far. And he has kind of an interesting backstory that's each one of them has like their own kind of like it's very similar to Outer Worlds, right? So each one of them has like their own backstory that kind of develops as you're playing the game, because it has its own quest line that you kind of learn more about them. And I can't remember the Outer Worlds because it's been forever since I played it, but like, did that game have like a camp setuap where you could kind of like
ship.
It was the ship. All right.
Yeah.
Here it's a little different because it's fantasy. So you have kind of like a camp that you'll have different areas that are designated on the map that it's like you can camp here. And then you can upgrade your weapons.
Exactly what the ship was.
Okay. Yeah. You can upgrade your stuff, but you can also talk to each companion, and that's kind of how you unlock different parts of those quest lines. I will say, like, while I'm enjoying the game thoroughly, I think it's a really good game. It's not nearly as memorable as Outer Worlds, in my opinion. Yeah, like, and maybe that'll change as I get further into the story. I think it's like upwards of 40 hours, so it's a longer game than Outer Worlds. But I still think the best part of it is the combat for me. So, and like we talked about last week, like a lot of people are using it in a derogatory way that the game's too similar to Oblivion, but I really like that part of it. So, because I love Oblivion, so like that isn't a derogatory thing to me. Like that's actually a bonus. The game is also like incredible visual. It looks stunning, and it has a lot of color too. Because that's another thing I've seen so many complaints about this game over the last 2 weeks, and then the constant bashing of like it didn't do that well and whatever, and like. I get it, but at the same time, like, this game's going to do fine when it hits PS5 later this year.
Right.
People are going to buy it. So, because I think there's a larger audience on PlayStation that is itching for this type of game.
I also think that, like, it's kind of been proven with, like, Sea of Thieves and Forza. Like, those are bigger games, but there's some kind of, like, mystery about Xbox games being on PlayStation where I think they just automatically are, like, top of the chart every time.
I mean, this one, I don't know if it'll hit. I'm sure it'll be like number 1 for a while whenever it hits.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that the mystery level is higher when it comes to something like Forza or Sea of Thieves that was like a strong, this is only ever going to be on Xbox. Oh, now it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like we've discussed before, when Halo ever hits, that's going to be the real dominating force on the charts.
For months.
That's going to be wild, man.
So, But I fully expect, like, I think we talked about before, like we know now Forza is the end of April. It really sounds like Indiana Jones is going to be announced any day now for sometime in April. I think once you get to April is probably maybe when you'll hear about Avowed, and my guess would be that's probably over the summer.
That's
It'll
a good
come out.
like July.
I can see that.
It would be, because I would also think they want to get that out before the Outer Worlds 2 comes out this fall.
Kind of have to, especially
Kinda
since
have
that's
to.
coming out on PlayStation the same time.
At the same time,
Yeah.
So, but I'm really enjoying my time with it. I'm still going back and forth between PC and Xbox. Just it depends on whenever the TV's in use and I can't use it, so and then I'll click over to the PC. But I've really enjoyed what I've played of it thus far. One of the things they put up on Game Pass, and I have not played this game. You and I have a physical copy of it, Dan, but that Balatro, the card game. So I'm not a poker person at all, and there obviously the game won a couple Game of the Year awards last year at the Game Awards, and it's very well received. I played maybe a couple rounds of it on the Xbox, and then because I was sick at the time, was like, boy, this would be a really good Steam Deck game. So I went and just bought it on Steam, and I put probably 4 to 5 hours into that while I was sick. And really like it, and that's coming from someone who doesn't really play poker. So I will admit, I've had to sit and look at okay, this is what a flush is and that kind of stuff, because I'm not a poker player.
Damn. Okay.
I'm not a poker player at all. so that's been kind of fun with it. And then the other game that I played, and I played a lot of this on the Steam Deck, is a game called Halls of Torment. And what I would say is think Vampire Survivors mixed with Diablo. That's what this game is. So it's it is a top-down view, kind of like Diablo. It looks just like Diablo, and you have maybe a little bit more control over your character than you would in Vampire Survivors. You do not control if you're a barbarian, you don't control swinging the axe. If you're an archer, you don't control the actual firing of the arrows, but you have more control over the aim of it, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
Really, really cool game.
It looks pretty cool.
It plays, and it's cheap. It's $5. So it was just one of those, like I said, while I was sick, I used my Steam Deck a lot while I was sick, and I was just scrolling through what games play best on the Steam Deck. And I saw that for $5. I'll try it for $5. And I sunk some time into it. So very, very cool game. Highly recommend it. I don't think it's new. It's probably been out for a year or two. But it's definitely worth it. I've also played it. I have played a little bit on my actual computer, and then that's one of the few games I actually used my Steam Deck dock and played on my TV.
Oh,
because I have one of those 8-bit do, kind of like a Switch Pro controller, but it's an 8-bit do.
Yeah.
That I use with the dock, and that worked really well. So
came out in 2023 too.
2023. Okay, so I was like, it's not new, and it has a lot of updates behind it from what I was looking at, but it's really good. I really highly recommend it, especially if you like Vampire Survivors. So, and then you and I have been talking about when we finish Godfall, we're gonna do some Far Cry stuff.
We're so close.
We're very close. Yeah, we'll probably
so close.
We'll probably talk more about Godfall probably next time we record.
We'll run the tower next time we do it and see how bad it is.
We'll have more to say about it then. But so I have Far Cry 5, and I bought the pack that had that and New Dawn on PlayStation. I've never played New Dawn. I played Far Cry 5 when it came out, but I wanted to play it again. Since now it has that 60 frames update. Ubisoft's been doing a lot of that with various games. And I'll be 100% honest and say better game than Far Cry 6. So I forgot how strong that game opens, but it has
really
kind
good.
of a whatever ending to it. They don't stick the landing to the end of that game, but
that's a Far Cry just
from
theme.
6. Yeah, fair.
3,
but
we talk about 3 all the time. 3 nukes its own story halfway through the game.
It does, because I think at the time they didn't realize how good that character of Voss was.
Yeah.
And then, it's a 12-year-old game at this point, but spoiler, but he is not the main villain, and at some point, he's not in the picture.
Yeah, to replace him with a generic military guy,
it's very lame.
It's just awful because
it sucks. It just sucks the wind out of that story when that guy's gone.
I remember specifically during that fight, when you do kill him at that point, and I'm just like, did we really just kill? Like, is he dead?
It's very weird.
There's still like a third of the game to go.
Yeah,
it's just kind of a strange choice.
It's
and
really bizarre.
That guy is never really as intimidating as he probably should be.
He's not as intimidating, and also like I wasn't, because 4 was what, the Himalayas.
Yeah, I like the map a lot.
See, I didn't. I was more. Whereas I think honestly, outside of Far Cry 3, I think 5 is probably my favorite map. It's very unique. Good. It's a cool and unique setting. At the time, kind of, it was kind of controversial at the time when it came out, the setting of that game. So, but
Montana Cultists. Oh no,
it's a cool game. So, but I've played a little. I'm up to the point like where you and I can play co-op whenever we want now. But I enjoyed like the couple hours I was playing of that the other day. So I'm looking forward to playing more of that. It was a game I was in the mood for a Far Cry game, and I was like, well, I don't like 6. I'm not. Apparently, that like definitive version of 3 is bad.
You were like, we should play New Dawn. I was like, okay, I don't have New Dawn. I never played it, and it was like $8 on the store or whatever. So I'm like, fine, I bought it. But then it was like, well, if we're gonna do that, I have like a couple random trophies left that I need help with in 5 that I need someone else to do it with. So it's like, let's just
And I thought about it, and I was like, you know, I could go for the platinum in a Far Cry game. I'm in the mood for doing one of those right now. So
and we like can get all the multiplayer stuff knocked out together.
The funny thing is, the pack that I bought also came with 3 definitive, but it's a bad version of that game from what I've read. So
yeah, I bought the thing because I played 5 originally on like the Plus catalog thing. Okay, so I didn't own it, so I bought the 3, 4, 5 pack because it was cheap too. The bummer with that is there's no DLC included in that, so you'd have to buy that separate. But like,
I originally played 5 on Xbox and then lent that copy to somebody where we used to work, and realized I never got that back. So, because the other day I was looking through, like when I was doing the shelf stuff, I was like, I'm pretty sure I have Far Cry 5, and I had to sit and think about it. I was like, no, I remember lending it to this person, and I never got it back. Oh well. And then the final thing that I played, we talked about it a little bit last week because we knew that the beta was coming out, but the Splitgate 2 beta, which I was kind of down on because I don't like the esports like setting of it. It looks lame to me, but that game still plays really damn good. Is it? Like really good. I'd say it plays even better in 2. Okay. The feel of it. So I still don't like it. There's only one map in the beta. I'm not sure if the beta is still going. I should probably try it again. I only played a couple matches. But the map, like I said, it has that esports. I'm hoping that whenever it launches later this year, there is a variety of maps and it doesn't just look like generic esports arenas. Because that's my big complaint about it. But it played great. The people that I was playing against, not very good at Halo, so it makes me excited for when Halo hits PlayStation, because it's going to be a lot of good online matches in my court. I think, because like just judging by Splitgate, it's kids play it like Call of Duty, and it's not Call of Duty.
Yeah,
so,
right.
And also, like I'm sure there are people that are playing the beta that played Splitgate 1, but still, people don't understand the concept of using portals in that game. And it's really easy to just plunk a portal somewhere and shoot them through the portal. And they're not. And I think
that's one of the cool things about that game that I really enjoyed was the portal aspect of being able to just kind of throw it around there.
It's really cool. And like I said, there's a lot of people that just don't get like, oh, I can throw this portal down and shoot through it.
Yeah.
So like it leads to a lot of interesting and fun kills. So but I look forward. I'll try it tomorrow, and I want to see if it's still up. I don't know when the beta was ending, but I was pleasantly surprised because I was kind of down on it for its visual style, but it plays extremely well. So, but that wraps up what I've been playing. I'll kick it over to you, Dan. You have the hot title of the week.
The big title of the week. We had talked about it a bunch, where it was we weren't sure if we were going to get it, and then all this stuff, and then 3 of my friends were like, we're all going to get it. So I was like, fine, fuck it. And I'm a sucker for a steelbook. So I bought Monster Hunter Wilds.
Like, even like most of the country bought Monster Hunter Wilds. Everybody did. Sales. Yeah.
I've played probably only like 3 or 4 hours or so. So like tutorial stuff and, getting online with friends and stuff and all that. This is not a bad thing, but it's more Monster Hunter, just presented in a different style. Like,
I've read it's easier.
I guess I would say so. I'm still really early on, and like the story definitely like is go here, do this, go here, do this, fight this, go here, do this, go here, do this, fight this. I like the game a lot. I'm playing on a regular PS5 on balanced, which is like I 40, guess is like 40 or so. Yeah. I really haven't had any kind of problems or anything yet. Maybe I'm not in the most intensive parts of this game. So
probably not, yeah.
But I was able to get into a thing with, 2 other people killing a giant monster, and there's other monsters running around and stuff, and it handled it just fine. And this is the kind of game where they're going to support it for years.
They supported the last one for a long time.
For a very long time. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really worried about that kind of stuff. They've already done a patch, but it wasn't a performance thing. It was like game-breaking stuff, like NPCs would disappear.
Yeah.
So far it's really good. It's really fun. Like, hunting monsters with friends is the best part of that game. Like, playing it by yourself,
not the best, yeah.
And not the best. Like,
it's a co-op. It's meant to be co-op.
Like killing a monster by yourself. That being said, hunting with friends in this game is fucking insane. It is 2025. What is happening? So let me try to explain it, because we finally figured it out by the time we were done with our first big session. So you can become friends in game. Then you can have a squad in game. But even if you're in a squad, you have to form a link party in game. And then it's like we're talking like friend code level bullshit at some points.
Yeah.
And even with all of that done, well, how do you play the story co-op? Well, we couldn't really figure that out either. So here's how that works. You basically have to be at kind of the same point in the story and do all of but in a link party. It's very important. And then you kind of go through the parts before the monster fight by yourself. You can't see anybody else. Even though they're there, they're not there. And when you finally get to the point in the story where you fight the monster, then it becomes then the big thing that says begin quest. And then other people in your group will get sent an auto invite to join that fight. But it's weird because you can't just run around and do the story stuff together. It's only the fight aspect of it that you can do for the story.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's very strange how it's set up. Once that's done, then you can go to the quest counter and just pick a quest, and everybody can go on a quest and stuff. But
do you think it's a holdover of the infrastructure of how those games work from the 3DS days?
I don't know.
That's where this series kind of became off of. Wasn't it PS2? It
was a PS2
a little bit.
It was very big on PSP.
PSP, okay.
PSP, there were 3 of them, I think. And then 3DS, it took off, and then Monster Hunter World.
I remember it being really big on 3DS, but it was the kind of thing where it's just man, I just don't know about, trying to play with other people on the 3DS. Mm-hmm. And then when it finally, because I think the first one that I played was World.
Yeah, that was the first major console release that hit for a lot of people.
Yeah. So.
Because, you had Monster Hunter, I think 3 was on the Wii. And that was kind of a big deal, but since it was on the Wii, nobody played it.
But I'm just looking back on I want to say that game had some of that weirdness too of party joining. And,
I'm sure
it's friend code stuff.
But it's an absolute fucking mess, and there's no excuse for it anymore. It should be join a party in game, and the 4 of you are just together. Yeah. And wherever you go, there you are. And the thing is I can maybe understand it not working because you join a server. Right, and there's 100 people on the server running around doing stuff.
Yeah,
you can, if you make a squad, you can literally do a private squad server where only people in your squad can join. So it would be just the 4 of us. Why in the hell aren't we together in our own world?
It's weird.
I don't get it, and it's the kind of thing where by the time the next one rolls around in 8 years, it needs to be figured out.
Yeah.
But, all that being said, there is another aspect of the game where you can do an environment link, which does put you in the world, and you can because there's monsters that just roam the world that you can go fight and stuff. But even then, it's that's not quite right, because that locks you out of doing other things because you're in this form of a party thing. I can't figure out how we haven't figured this out yet. But all that being said, hunting monsters, we got to the spider boss, and fighting that thing together was super fun because we all have different weapons and have different roles and stuff, and and then of course you take the parts and go craft the gear, and all the spider gear is super cool. And then it's like, well, I don't have enough pieces. Let's go fight the spider again. You know, it's like that kind of. That's the gameplay loop. But it's really good. I'm excited to play a lot more of it. I'm playing more of it tomorrow. So there's that. The other thing I got back in, I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I started playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla again. Something about me wants to just like get rid of it.
Because I was gonna say you've done Origins and you've done Odyssey.
I've 100% of both of those. So
Okay.
Valhalla was next, and I started Valhalla a couple of years ago, and probably played about 10 hours or so, to the point where I'm at a point where I can kind of go and do whatever I want.
Okay.
And then there's story stuff to do, but I don't know. I just kind of wanted to get it out of my system, I guess, and just off the thing, because hell, this might be the last Assassin's Creed game I ever play at this point.
It might be. Well, I don't know what's going to happen if this new one tanks.
Part of me is interested in Mirage just to see how different it is.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not interested in the new one at all.
I feel like Mirage will probably hit Plus at some point.
It could, for sure.
So,
but I'm just not like. I'm not into the new one.
And it's not even the controversy stuff.
No,
it just doesn't interest me.
No, there's something about it I just don't. I'm not caring about. But getting back into Valhalla, it's good. It's weird because it is very different from Odyssey in terms of like how the gear and all that stuff works. So getting used to all of that now is strange because I still remember that stuff. But I mean, that game still looks and plays incredible.
It did, at the time, and that was my problem. Like I said, was the year that Valhalla came out was the year I 100% Odyssey, and that's like to do everything in that game in DLC. It's like 150, 160 hours.
Well, I mean, all the boat stuff alone.
And so then being naive and going, well, I'll do Valhalla when it comes out. It's like I just was not in the mood for another one of those that quick.
Yeah.
Whereas like now it's been 5 years, I probably could.
I think it's part of why I wanted to get rid of it off the thing too, because it's been long enough that it's just time to get it out of here. But so there's that, and then the last thing I really tried was I did get Sonic Colors Ultimate downloaded from Plus.
Yeah.
Played probably the first like 6 levels of that or whatever. It's fine. I don't actually think it doesn't control very well.
Okay.
Sonic games rarely do, but even then, it's like this one, for being like a remake of the Wii one, it's just. I don't know. For me, I guess just personally, like I've never been able to get like a sense of like Sonic's speed in any game I've ever played, because the game wants you to run fast, but then purposely makes you stop and do awful jumping, and he doesn't control well when he jumps.
Yeah,
and it tries to. This one at least is kind of neat how it goes back and forth between like 2D and 3D. I like that stuff, but overall, it's just. This
is a remake of the Wii one, right? Yeah. Okay.
And like it's cool because you get like different powers and stuff, and you can use them to do different things. And the problem with that is they put stuff in early levels that you can't do yet because you don't have the power, so it forces you to replay stuff if you want to get even anywhere close to like collecting and stuff. Overall, it's fine. I'll play through it. I just don't know. I can already feel like I'm not gonna 100% it. Like I'm not even about to try because I feel like it's too much. Get all these coins and go down this path and whatever, but you're going so fast you miss a path and you got to restart the level. It's just annoying. But
that is the case.
Yeah, I'll play through it at some point. And then the last thing, I do have some pickups, including some gems, some like older retro stuff that Kyle doesn't even know about yet. But so I'll go through them quick. This is the first one. This is one that Kyle grabbed for us just because there's no physical American release, so we just wanted it for the shelf. And then it's that Baten Kaitos like collection thing for the Switch.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. It's going on the shelf and it'll probably never come down. I got a couple DS games I got for cheap. This one, so the Arkanoid DS. I like weird DS games.
It's a weird puzzle game.
Yeah, it's like Breakout. But strangely enough, I already had the game, so this is actually just the case, but it's complete. And Kyle, you'll know when I say it. It feels new.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. It's another good one. Spectrobes, Beyond the Portals. I don't never played these games. I don't know what they are. I think it was like $5, but it's what I would call like definitely complete because it's got like the little card and it's still in the plastic.
That's complete for sure.
So that's a good one to pick up for cheap. This next one, my son saw it and he really wanted it. And the main reason I picked it up is because it doesn't have everything in it, but it has almost everything. So it's Attack of the Movies 3D for the Wii.
Oh, okay.
And it comes with 3D glasses.
But does it have?
It has 3 of the 4 it's supposed to.
You're supposed to get 4.
Oh, damn.
So, whoever had it originally used 1 and lost them, and then the other 3 are in here.
I remember that. But
what's cool about this one, too, is this actually has a lenticular cover, but it's also removable. So it's like an extra, special version of it, too.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. And again, this one was like $6, so sure.
Oh, yeah, fan.
I like good cheap stuff. This one I picked up for I've been looking for a copy of this game for years, and the main reason is a friend of mine worked on it. So it's one of those ones where it's like I just kind of want to have it but for whatever reason I have never see a copy. I look at game shows, I look at every game store I go to, and no one ever has this game for whatever fucking reason. I probably, honestly, it didn't sell well, I'm sure. But it's a fun, almost like a Clue game, but it's multiplayer. But I just wanted to have it because my buddy worked on it. Here's where we'll get into some bangers. So I picked up Marvel's Capcom 3. The true banger of the collection, Marvel Nemesis for PS2.
There you go.
It was cheap and complete, so why not, right? Here's a good one. Mega Man X Collection for PS2. Not that this is even relevant anymore because
it's not,
I can buy better collections on other systems.
Mm-hmm.
I'll save this one for last. Here's another Street Fighter Anniversary Collection.
Okay.
So somebody just had a bunch of fighting games that they traded in, and I just picked up the ones that I didn't have. And then here's the best one. This was a steal. I got this for $35, but I got a complete non-greatest hits version of Hit and Run because I don't buy greatest hits stuff. I think the only greatest hits game I own is because it was only available in greatest hits was that Virtual Fighter game. Remember that one time when they re-released it?
Yeah.
For PS2, I think that was only.
I think it was, yeah.
Greatest hits. But yeah, so that was just some fun pickups, just because I had an opportunity to grab some stuff. So that's it for me.
About you, Matt?
Nice pickups there, bud. So I played a lot of demos this week. I just kind of I was kind of trying to fill stuff out. I'm in the mood to buy something. All right, we're in a March, and I haven't bought anything for myself. So I'm itching to buy something. So I'm playing demos to see if anything kind of stands out.
Sure.
First one I saw that the studio was closing, Studio Fizbin, and they just dropped a game called Rainbreaker, or I don't know if they, hold on, I think they did. Oh no, they haven't. It comes out March 18th.
Okay.
So they haven't dropped it, but the studio already closed.
Weird.
And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. And they, they seemed like they were talking very positive about the game. So I was like, I'm gonna jump. Well, first I wanted to see maybe there's if there was a physical copy, I was gonna snag it, especially if the studio closed. I figured that'd be kind of a cool one to just have. But they don't, because it's only coming out on Steam from what I see, so it's only available on PC.
It might be the kind of thing where it only comes out on Steam too, because
studio's closing. But it's essentially kind of like a Diablo type game. You don't really get to pick who your person is. You play as this main character, but I haven't gotten I didn't get to play too much of the demo before I died, and then I got kind of pissed at how I died.
Is it kind of like Enter the Gungeon? Did you ever play that game?
A little.
Okay.
A little like that. Not horrible. I mean, it's not a bad game from what I've seen so far. I definitely am going to finish up the demo, and if it is if it is solid, I might try to pick it up just to see it's out. I'm not 100% certain yet, but we'll give it a shot. Continue on. I also started playing the demo to Crime Scene Cleaner.
I've played that. I have that.
My niece was really into it, and she was over here at my house the other day, and she was playing it, and she was like, "You should get it because it's a lot of fun." And I was like, "I do like cleaning up crimes," so I downloaded the demo. It plays well. It's a fun game. If you're like cleaning up other people's murders, I mean, it's not it's not bad. I also downloaded Donkey Kong Returns on the Switch, the
Okay.
demo for that, and I played I think you can only play like 3 levels of that.
Okay.
But it's not bad. I mean, it's not horrible for a remake of whatever it is. Then I started playing some Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, like the actual campaign. And so, like, right now you're in how every Dragon Ball game starts, I figure, is like the Vegeta and the Saiyan saga, So it's like,
yeah,
nothing crazy because you've essentially played this in every single game. So, I mean, it's not anything new, but it controls well. It plays fun.
It kind of seems like they repeat the same story in
And
every one of
they
those
do.
games, just
Like,
different kind of game. But
yeah, like it's a different kind of game. It's
Mhm.
just the same exact story. So it's kind of like, I mean, if you watch the anime, you know what's happening. Like it's not that, like, I think for some of
Yeah.
these games, while I think it is cool you get to play through it in the same aspect, I'm like, maybe you should just throw something new out there occasionally. Like, what about like what happened between the saga of like Cell and Majin Buu? Like, maybe there was like a random person you guys could have created to kind of like spark interest in something. But then if you do that, Dragon Ball Z anime people will come out of the woodworks and want to burn you for everything you do, because that's how Dragon Ball Z people are sometimes. And then today I did, for my son, he wanted it, so I ended up buying Sonic Forces for him. It was it's not bad. It's not crazy. When you were talking about Sonic Colors, Dan, it
Yeah.
reminds me a lot of this. Like, he goes insanely fast, and then it's like you jump and you just automatically fall off the map.
And you slow down, and it just like it really kind of takes away from the flow of a Sonic game and what I feel like a Sonic game should be.
Yeah, like, why do you want me to go extremely fast and then just stop me in the middle of like the stage just to make a jump, just to speed back up again, to jump again? And then, like you said, you miss a door, you miss a path, and you can't go back because there's not that option. So then you have to restart the level. And it's like, my youngest son is really into Sonic right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, he's been wanting a Sonic game, and I was trying to find one on the Game Pass that they had, so I didn't have to buy a game for him. But he
what was the
pointed
one
out
that came out last year? That was that Frontier? Is that what it was called?
That was like the big open world.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the
Run
last
around
one that
one.
I played. I don't think I have Forces, but I don't think I ever played it.
I think that was a free game.
It might have been at some point. I own, like, for whatever reason, I don't know why this is, I own like every physical Sonic release that has come out. Like, even the most recent ones
You're a big Sonic guy.
But
ever since Sonic 06.
Ever since Sonic 06 changed my life. No.
But I played a little bit of that with him. It's a Sonic game. It's not anything crazier to talk about, like, wildly, but it's not horrible. It's not the greatest.
I feel like that's almost every Sonic game. It's like, I don't hate it, but it's not good. The only one I would say I did not like for real was, remember that
the Wii U one
that we had the demo of, and I played it at the store for like 5 minutes. Like, this game sucks.
It was because it really felt slow.
It felt like he was running through like syrup or something.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about.
It was weird when it was like a 3D one, but the level like rotated.
The last one I remember really enjoying was Generations.
Generations was good,
and that's been a while. Yeah. So
I liked all the the advanced ones were fun.
And I do think that open world, because I did play a little bit of the open world, the Frontiers or whatever. I didn't think that was bad.
Oh, but Sonic Lost World?
Yeah, that's the Wii U one.
Yeah, that's the Wii U one. That's not great. But that's how I feel like they all are too, where it's like, well, it's okay, but it's just not hitting the level you want it to hit.
Yeah.
Like with speed and stuff.
For sure. And then me and one of my good friends have been discussing 2K25.
You want to go to the island, don't you?
I do. I want to go to the island, man. Like,
you want to go hang out with Paul Heyman on the island?
I do. I want to see Paul Heyman. But like, I've been looking at the character models, and they look a lot cleaner from 24, from what I see. Also, the DLC, like some of the DLC that they have, suckered me in, man. Like,
I know you really want those 3 NBA stars to be announced.
I do. I've never played. I don't like
So
NBA at
dumb.
all, but I can't wait to get that.
So weird.
What really did it for me, honestly, was who was it? The Motor City Machine Guns.
So
And then,
if you're doing it, are you going to get the big
like
edition?
Stephanie and Julia are both DLC, which is dumb.
That's
I
kinda
really
hate
cool.
how locked in these rosters are before the game comes out because like the 2 NXT champions are DLC for this.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense. Another one that sold me on it was Abyss because I'm like, I really enjoy his character work from TNA, and like the TNA game was absolute garbage. And the fact that he's going to be a playable character in this was like, I was like, all right, you might have sold me on that. And then like Penta being on there is really
That's
cool
cool.
to see. And then they got, Jordan Grace and Bull Nakano and all of those people.
That's
are
why
pretty
DLC
solid.
is good because then we can add all the people who like literally just showed up.
Yeah, exactly.
But Julia and Stephanie should just be in the game. That's
I agree.
ridiculous. Like,
I don't understand. I mean, I understand why they do the roster. Essentially, it's like once they release the game is when they start the roster build for the next one. So it's like,
but haven't they learned by now that that's not right? Because look at how many people in the game don't work there anymore.
yeah.
Remember,
Well,
was it like 2 years ago or maybe 3 years ago where it was like the culling and like 30 people got cut and they were all in the game? That was coming out
No,
in
it
like
was
2 months.
it was bad enough
Was it
where I think
COVID?
somebody could make an entire Royal Rumble match with
people
that
who weren't in it.
that aren't there anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
insane.
crazy. It's wild.
Why haven't they learned that like this is a live service game for all intents and purposes? It's got cards I can buy with real money.
Yep.
You can have a roster update day 1 that is correct, and then have DLC be like legends and stuff like that. I don't get it at all.
It is weird.
It is strange, but I mean, it suckered me because just some of that DLC, I'm like,
I get it. I would want a lot of those people to be in the game. So
I would be okay if they were all in the game, but I know they're not because and then it's crazy because next year they're gonna be in the game, and it's like, then I gotta
pay
buy the
$30
game next
the year
year.
before. Yeah,
exactly. So
I will say I'm excited. Like the game has intergender matches again.
Yeah,
let's watch. Have you seen any footage of like the Bloodlines match?
No.
Holy shit, that match is crazy. I don't know, Matt, do you ever watch New Legacy on YouTube?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna send you need to watch these guys because they hang out and play wrestling games and they do all kinds of weird dumb shit, and so like they got invited to the 2K25 like promo thing, and they did a Bloodline match between Luke Gallows and Cora Jade. And it's how the Bloodline match works in the game is like essentially no rules, but eventually you can earn the ability to call in like a family member, and they will come in and help you. You can't control them, but they're there to help you.
Yeah.
But their match got so fucked up that it ended up being 4-on-1 at one point because the other guy called in 3 people, and so it was Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, AJ Styles, and I think Michin versus just Cora Jade at once. So then they were trying to like make it so she could call in people, and it just got it just gets insane because those people are like constantly going I hate it because it looks really fun and it makes you want to play the game. I hate it. But I just finished 24. I cannot play 25 right now.
Too soon for you. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I've been talking to myself about it, and at first I didn't want it originally, but then me and my friends started getting into it, and I was like, damn it, man. As soon as they released all of the packs, I was like, and then of course, like the fact that you haven't released the names of the celebrity guests and then the 3 NBA players, it's like, I don't really give a shit about all those people. It's just the actual playable people that I'm really like,
yeah.
Okay, I'm in it. I'm in it to play this now. So
I'm
still debating if I want to pay for it, but then I'm like, I'm probably in 2 weeks. I'll probably say I bought the game and we'll play some rounds for it. So
Isn't it out officially Tuesday?
Yeah, it's available
It's
now.
early access
if
if you
you-
buy like, the big boy edition right now.
Yeah. Well, I think there's
the Taker edition.
There's
right?
2 big boys.
Well, yeah, because there's a regular edition, the Taker edition, and then the Bloodline edition. And then I think at the Taker edition you get it 5
Okay.
days prior. And then I know at the Bloodline edition you get it because my friend sent me a picture of him downloading it this morning, and I was like, "You fuck!"
Yep.
I was like, "God damn!" I was like, "All right." What really did it too, though, is like Obafemi is the current NXT champion right now, and that man is just unstoppable when it comes to like he's essentially what you would want every man over 6 foot to be, athletic and like just wild. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end up buying this game again.
I don't blame you.
Can I play as heel John Cena?
I bet.
I hope so.
DLC.
Prototypes.
I
Probably.
did. I did
like,
see somebody's
probably
already put him in the game with his
That's the
bald
other
spot
thing.
in the back.
Yeah.
And like that's the other thing too is like the people are already ready to upload that stuff to the
God,
character
yeah.
creator.
They are prepared, man.
So that's
There's like
always
a whole,
the fun.
there's
there,
like a
too.
whole arsenal already ready. I love looking at some of the creations because some
It's
of those
good.
people get
Yeah.
so detailed. I'm like, how did you do this? Because like, I don't have the patience. I'm not even gonna lie.
No.
No, I did the 2K24 storyline for the women as Sydney Sweeney because she was in the game. I was like, all right,
There you go. There you go.
That's pretty good.
it's more fun. And then I did Kenny Omega for the middle.
See?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. That's what I want.
But that wraps up for you, Matt.
Oh yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Well, we can kick over to news where I'm laughing at you about thinking about early access to WWE, but on the same side of that, I'm totally doing early access for Tony Hawk's 3 and 4 remaster, which has officially been announced. It is out. So it is out July 11th. If you buy the deluxe or the collector's edition, which I have pre-ordered.
Deluxe is only digital, right? I think it's only digital.
I believe it's only digital for the deluxe.
Yeah. Because the only physical copy is the actual like regular.
So
copy.
yeah, you can do the regular copy of the game, which is $50, or you can do the collector's edition, which is $130. It comes with another skate deck, kind of like the one. I have the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 collector's edition, so I'm kind of obligated to buy 3 and 4.
You
and
texted
then,
me, it's like, hey, this one has like a skate deck, and I immediately thought to myself, like, he's gonna buy that like right now.
It's
And
like
then,
2
a
minutes
minute later,
later,
you're like, I bought it.
that's been acquired.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I get it.
and now once I get that, I'll probably hang the 2 decks in my office here. So
Yeah, you should.
but I'm excited about
less.
that. So I have that reserved. It is cool this time because I mean, if you have Game Pass, it'll be on Game Pass day one because it is an Activision game. So, and I believe you can. I mean, if you want to play it early, you can pay to have that deluxe stuff, which is like $20,
like $20, or
If
it's like
you-
18
yeah.
after the discount thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if for whatever reason my copy, doesn't come for that collector's edition in time for the early access, I'll probably just do it on Game Pass. So
you definitely will do it on Game Pass.
I'm
Like, it's
there.
not probably.
With that being said, and obviously it's a real get your pistols out, fire it in the air moment.
There's a lot of stuff about
they
this
did-
version of this game.
They did come out, and I wouldn't say this sucks the wind out of the announcement or anything like that, but
No.
they did come out and say that for specifically Tony Hawk 4 is not going to have free roam like the original game. And it makes sense. Like they want to keep these in line with each other.
So-
it wouldn't make sense for 4 to be a free roam game but not 3.
Right. And here's the thing: is like it is a bummer, yes, for sure. However, you and I, when we were talking about it, it's like if they were going to do this, where they were going to remake 3 and 4, like that's where the series like really changed and became something else. Even though it was very similar to 3, like it opened it up, and also essentially at that point they're having to remake 2 games.
Well, and I told you, we'd have to look it up, but I don't think that the game was free roam on PS1 because remember, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 released on PS1.
Yeah, I don't think
It's one
it
of the
could have
last
been.
PlayStation 1 games. I don't think it would
could
be
not
possible.
have been, right? Like I don't.
No.
I never played it for obvious reasons, but
No, we all had PS2.
we'll leave it
at
up
that
to
point, so-
researcher Matt. Researcher Matt's looking it up.
But I don't think so.
But even then, it's like because 4 still had the thing where it's like you can just do a 2-minute run.
Yes, it did.
So-
And the other thing they're kind of doing, I don't know if we'd say this would make up for it or not, because I know there are some people that are upset, but there's a brand new map. It's a water park. Looks awesome. So I think building a new map in the vein of these remasters is a really cool idea. So I look forward to that. And I'm perfectly fine. Again, I'm bummed that there won't be free roam because I think that's cool, but I also would be okay waiting for, hopefully a Thug 1 and 2
save
remaster.
something for the Thug remake, man.
Right?
Gotta save it.
So,
and it's something that I'm willing to give up to get these games.
So, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 says is a departure from the previous 3 games' career mode in which players had a set amount of time in order to find and complete goals. 4 instead features a career mode more similar to free skate mode in which there is no time limit to explore the level. The goals are usually offered to the player by the attempt by characters found in the level.
But is that for the PS1 version?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they must have, but I mean, I don't know a single person who played that game on PS1.
Maybe, you know what? I'm gonna look for the PS1 version that came at MGC. I don't think I'll find it.
No.
Well, let's look for it.
We're making you buy it.
There you go.
If I find it, I'll buy it.
You gotta play it.
There cannot be that many copies of it out there because they would have made a lot of copies of it for PS1 at that point because it wasn't it 2002.
They made PS1 games for a long time.
2002.
Okay. They made PS1 because that was 2002 is when I started at Game Crazy, and we still had new PS1 games like in stock.
It probably would have been just like Madden and FIFA.
We had like a 3-foot section on the wall that had that stuff, and it was like that, but it was also like Final Fantasy VII and and like the Chronicles thing, and I think we had a copy of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah,
I remember we had that because for whatever reason in our system that game was $47.99, and because we had pre-made like green tags that went on the shelves and everything.
Yeah,
we did not have a $47.99, so I had to like fucking arts and crafts one out of like 2 other tags. I had to do that sometimes, but that one just sticks in my head because it was $47.99. But yeah, and the only other thing about Tony Hawk it's a bummer, but you get it, is Bam's not in the game.
Yeah. And as someone who's kept up on the dealings with Bam, I've watched a lot of like documentaries and stuff in the last 2 years on him. Like for all intents and purposes, he is in a good place and sober.
Right.
And he does a lot. I mean, he's doing a lot more skating now than I think he has in the last 10 years, but it's still the kind of thing of like, I get it. You put him in this game and then what's to say he goes on another bender or something? I mean, I get why they're not doing it, but it is a bummer.
Well, and if we're going to do Thug, let's worry about it for
I think Thug. That's where it becomes a harder conversation.
It'd be hard to take him out.
He's a little bit he has a little bit of a role in Thug 1, but he's a prominent role in Thug 2.
The whole point of the game is like him versus Tony Hawk,
yeah, the whole point of that game, and like I told you the other day, like that was a better Jackass game than Jackass the game. So
but we also talked about where if we're gonna remake Thug 1 and 2, there's gonna have to be some changes anyway.
There would have to be.
They're not Jackass ruled the world at the time.
Yeah, 2025 is a different time.
Yeah.
For sure.
But it's probably okay. Those games probably need some updating, to be fair.
I agree. The other thing, too, is like I would totally understand if they looked at that and went, you know what? There is too much we'd have to change. And they went and did like American Wasteland.
What if they just made their own Thug game?
Or that, I think now they've proven that this team that's doing these remasters, I think would be safe at making a new Tony Hawk.
I was reading a lot of stuff online about this, like 4 being 2 minutes thing. People are like pissed. I can't believe these game devs. This is ridiculous. It just shows that game devs are just AI like training grounds. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
People are really pissed about it
because you can't just open skate and Tony Hawk 4. It's okay, man. Then just play Tony Hawk 3. Tony Hawk 3 is a fantastic game. You'll be fine.
It made me go, I cannot find my Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 poster.
Uh-oh.
That I used to tap for luck at work.
We'll look for one of those at the show.
I haven't seen it since I moved. So
there's a guy.
I was like, I need to put that up in my
there's that guy who always has like posters
at
the show.
We'll look.
That's where I got like an Earthbound one and a Final Fantasy 4 one and stuff. So yeah,
I need one. Plus, that one's got a lot of holes in it now.
Maybe you'll have a cool Tony Hawk's 2X poster.
There you go. In no surprise, the Bloober Team, the people that are behind the Silent Hill 2 remake, have signed a deal for another Silent Hill game. We don't know what it is yet, if it's a remake of another one or if they're doing an original Silent Hill. I really don't know. Like, because like I said, then you have to ask the question: what if they're remaking it? What do they do? Did they do 3 or did they go back to 1?
3 was pretty divisive from amongst
3
people.
was divided. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of 3, but I know there's an audience that really does like 3.
I liked it.
I really like 1, and I would love to see that game remade because it desperately needs it.
But that game's already been redone.
There was because there was that Wii.
The Wii one.
Was it Shattered
Memories?
Okay. So they did do that, but
I don't know. I don't know if I give them free reign to make a new one yet. I think it's the problem.
I don't know if I would do that yet either.
I think it's like prove it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Tony Hawk thing. Prove it one more time.
Yeah.
So I would say if you wanted to do it, maybe make 3, and then if 3 does well, then you could even do it at that point where if 3 does well enough, then they could spin that team into 2 things where it's like you guys remake 1, and then because they could use the 2, whatever the engine is, to remake 1 pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then make a new one. And maybe that's where you go.
Yeah.
That remake was highly successful, sold very well. So that's none of it surprising. So
well, I think it was a little bit, considering going up to that point, it wasn't quite sure. Like, is it going to be good?
It's not
like, I
now,
don't know.
But like at the time, remember we had that really rough trailer and then didn't see it for like 8 months.
There was like no info about it,
and there was no info, and then all of a sudden it resurfaced, and they put out trailers like this actually looks pretty good, and it had a date. So there was a time though where it was kind of like really on the fence of like they might fumble this hard. So, but speaking of fumbles. Fable has been delayed once again.
Oh, nice segue.
Now to 2026. Now, no window, just 2026. They tried to help people swallow this pill by putting out some pre-alpha footage, which, like, the footage is fine. I will say, like, when you watch the combat, you can tell that people that worked on The Witcher 3 are working on this game in the combat, which is fine. That's not a bad thing. But, like, to delay this game another year...
It's not worth it anymore, guys.
I think my honest gut opinion is it's being delayed a year so that they are ready to put it out on PS5 at the same time.
I mean, maybe, man. Like I've said this before in the past. Like you can't delay a game that doesn't have a date. Like it's just this game. Delaying it to 2026 means nothing.
This was. Nothing. I mean, we're recording in March now, but this was in February.
Right.
Like we were 2 months into the year that it's supposed to come out. And you're now telling me it's next year already.
It's crazy.
It's a bad look.
Right.
So,
like, the gameplay looks fine. But
yeah, the gameplay looks fine. Like, and Microsoft's out there trying to say, like, well, we got a lot of other stuff coming out this year. And that, like, it's just one of those, do you?
No.
We've been burned.
Got a lot of stuff
coming
out on PlayStation this year.
That's for sure. So.
Hey, I'll tell you the hot take I gave Kyle the other day. I think, this is a hot take, Microsoft releasing games on PlayStation means Microsoft has won the console war, not PlayStation. They are actively profiting off of somebody else's system.
That's a smart idea.
Soon to be two.
Yeah,
because
the Switch 2.
They're going to put some
games in the Switch 2.
They're actively profiting off of competitor system at a very high rate of success for games that came out years ago.
That's the thing. Yeah, like none of this stuff has been like day and date new games. Like Indie will probably be the first one that's close.
Right.
Within a couple months, but like Horizon 5 is what, a 4-year-old game?
Sea of Thieves. That's
Sea of
pretty
Thieves
old
was a
too.
7-year-old game.
Even Grounded, relatively a couple years old. That Pentiment game was not, I don't think it was, I think it was shorter than that, but these aren't even major releases that are selling well on this system. We talk about it all the time. We said it before. When Halo and Gears and stuff show up, they're going to make millions.
I don't think I put it in here, but the Gears has been surfacing again now with another rumored. But now they're saying it won't have the multiplayer. It'll just be the first 3 games as a campaign collection.
Oh, so that's kind of a bummer, but okay.
My breaking point would be if it doesn't have horde mode.
Yeah, I guess maybe I could see it not having multiplayer because the plan would probably be at some point to get 4 and 5 on there, and wouldn't you rather just have
Yeah.
the 5 multiplayer work and be crossplay. I think that's probably the goal.
But like if it doesn't have horde mode,
If it doesn't have campaign
that's
co-op and
pretty-
horde, then it's trash.
I would assume it will be fully co-op
Fucking
campaign,
better
but
be.
if it doesn't have horde mode, they literally invented that.
Yes.
So like that became like that is a mode that then became a staple in fucking every game at that time. Like, so if it didn't have that, I would be really shocked.
That better be $40. But yeah, so that's my hot take is Microsoft is profiting off of someone else at this point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they don't really have to do a damn thing to do it.
Absolutely.
So they may have failed at making their own console relevant, but their software side, like they've won. I think you could argue they won.
They've always been a software company, though.
Yeah.
So, we've had more studio closures. This time, Warner Brothers. We've talked about this game multiple times. I think we recently mentioned like what is going on with this game, like around the Game Awards time. But the Wonder Woman game has officially been canceled. The unfortunate part of this is with that announcement, Monolith has closed down.
Mm-hmm.
Monolith, very, very prolific studio. A lot of great games came out of that studio. The other part of this that is a bummer is that it also locks the Nemesis system, which Warner Brothers has locked up with a patent until 2036.
Curse you!
Insane.
It's insane. Like one of the most underutilized systems that they probably were going to put in this Wonder Woman game.
I would have to assume
at some capacity.
Dude, I love that thing. It's so cool.
Because it was the people making Wonder Woman were the people that made the two Shadow of War games. So
I love this game.
But again, you go back. These are the people that made Condemned. These are the people that did Fear. These are the people that did like a lot of very prolific games that I've played over the years. Great games that I played over the years. So it is a bummer. But as far as the Wonder Woman game being canceled, that did not shock me.
No,
the studio closures shocked me because Rocksteady skirted by, and as far as we know, they're working on a Batman game. So, but that's I mean, if you think about it and you look at Warner Brothers as a whole, Rocksteady's what brought them down with Suicide Squad being a massive failure, but they dodged the bullet. So by being shut down. So. But I wonder, Wonder Woman's the kind of thing where I hope that in the future at some point, someone leaks some sort of build of that game because I would love to see what it was.
I wonder how much of it exists.
I wonder too, because it sounds like the rumors we've seen is that it was rebooted a couple times.
Right.
So, which is never a good sign, but like, I just like, because even years later, like we got leaked footage of that Batman. There was that one Batman Gotham by Gaslight game.
Yeah. Got a little bit of that, like some screenshots and
little bit of like pre-alpha footage of whatever that Damian Wayne game was going to be.
I remember there was one of him standing by a gate.
Yeah, so I feel like in the next 5 years or so, maybe something about Wonder Woman would come out. I'd love to see what the concept was. So, Rockstar has bought the studio and I had to correct you on this the other day because I think you said something.
I read it really quick. Yeah,
it was not the studio that made the bad port of the GTA trilogy, but it is the studio that fixed the bad port of the GTA trilogy. So they bought that studio. I would assume they're just absorbing them into Rockstar.
You're making GTA 6 now.
With GTA 6. Yeah. They I mean they still keep saying that game's coming out this year, so they're really heavily pushing it.
It could.
I mean, if it does, that'd be game.
I mean,
if we get to like August, September, and you get another one of those like, boy, GameStop's October sales are really high. Like I could see something like that because they're gonna know far in advance.
I mean, I hate myself that I bought that game on like 3 different systems through 2 different generations. I'm so pissed off.
You know what's
it's
stupid too is like the other day when I was at Walmart, they had PS5 copies of that for $10, and I almost did it. And I stopped myself because I asked myself, why am I doing this? Like why do I need another copy of this? I already have it digitally.
Yeah.
So
I have it digitally too. Like I
don't need to do this. I have a divisive comment to say about this, but Neil Druckmann has stated did not bet on there being a Last of Us Part 3. I say good. But at the same time, I feel like they're going to wrap this story up with this TV show.
Right.
Like his whole focus of The Last of Us is now the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's working on that Intergalactic. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Intergalactic.
Yeah, Intergalactic.
So I feel like they've moved on from The Last of Us. And because the TV show has become so successful, I would assume most fans of that story are watching the TV show. So
I can see this going one of two ways at Sony, because he can say he's done.
Yeah.
He can say he's not making Last of Us 3.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, A, they wouldn't just make a Last of Us game set in the world in telling a different story.
Uh-huh.
Maybe 40 years later or whatever the fuck. They can do anything they want.
They
make their own new game.
Right. He doesn't own the IP.
Right.
Sony.
Yeah.
So
owns it,
there's either that, or B, this finally opens the door for them to just make another fucking Uncharted game. Like, what are you doing?
That's what I would like.
What are you doing?
We've talked about it. I mean, it's been 10 years. I don't think it's a spoiler to say, he has a daughter at the end of that game. And I think that at this time, I'm honestly surprised I mean, I'm sure it's been pitched at some point internally, but I am surprised that they haven't gone forward with like, let's just make a new one where it's his daughter and then he's there as the Sully type figure.
And with Tomb Raider being in some kind of weird hell right now, it's open. It's open to do it. So
yeah, your only real competition is literally Indiana Jones did well. So
but
I'm sure we'll get another one of those.
That's
but that's
completely
still
different game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's Last of Us is not dead. Let's put it that way. They'll find a way to do it. It won't be a shitty multiplayer game.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing that.
But you could easily call a game The Last of Us : whatever, and it's in Florida, and it's 40 years later, and people have started to rebuild. Like, shit, dude, I could write this whole game for you right now if you wanted.
Yeah.
But it's not hard to do. So
no.
They won't give up on that IP just because it's worth a lot of money, and the show just makes it worth more money. The show
makes it more, yeah. So,
but we were saying yesterday where, maybe we won't say the spoiler, but like, there's something that happens in the game that we don't think is necessarily going to happen in the TV show. It's next season.
I told you I think that it does, but it's
at the end
how the season ends.
Because it has to happen. But
there's no way in which it does not happen.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
But I could see them dragging it to season 3, whatever, or like you said, a cliffhanger for it, because it does make sense as the most like obvious cliffhanger point. But then that stretches the Last of Us 2 game into 2 like seasons, which maybe he's fine with. Who knows?
From what I read, at least with this most recent stuff, they envision 4 seasons. Okay. So, is it possible? Sure. And like I said, I just think to do that the same way that the game does it would be too devastating for a audience, like the TV audience. Because again, this show does pull in the people who play the game. The show pulls in people who did not play the game,
and they don't know what's coming.
And if they were like, and they have no idea what's coming with any of the bullshit of the second game. So I feel like to do that if they do it the same way, it will turn a lot of people off.
Yeah.
And there'll be people like, oh, I don't know if I want to continue this. So,
well, and the thing about it too is with the series, you could stretch it out more by including episodes that aren't centered around Joel and Ellie like they did in the first one with Bill, and that whole episode with him and his
partner. Yeah, I don't think they were technically married. I don't think you could in that times, but his
but
partner.
I mean, that whole episode was still involved in that world and is still centered around characters that were involved in the game, where you can like kind of do that going into the next season.
Well, you've got a big brand new character for season 2 that you could spend more time fleshing out. So
yes,
exactly.
There's a lot to do. But,
and I'll say too, like for someone who really doesn't like that second game, they've picked a very good actress to play that character.
Love her.
That will bring a lot to that role that I think was missing from the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I also look at that actress, go, man, that's the actress that should have played Ellie.
Yeah.
So
it almost feels like
that's the
they
hardest
should
part.
have
They should
opposite
swap
roles. Yeah.
exactly. Where I like if they were swapped, I'd be like, this is perfect.
Right.
So, but yeah, I need to go back because I never watched those last 2 episodes of the first season, and part of it is just I know the story, but
That's
I
why
probably
I
should.
never watched it, but maybe I just fucking should at this point.
It's good. Yeah, no, like,
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's very well done.
I love the first game.
I love
the
the
first
It's a
game.
masterpiece.
It's incredible.
So I would never argue against it. It's
No.
just the second game was for me was a 180. So, which we don't need to retread.
Well,
but
Neil's vision.
yeah, well, but yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But I don't think that IP is dead.
No.
I just think in the
Too
sense
valuable.
of him making a third part of that story, I don't think you
Right.
see it.
But
in game form.
spin-offs are easily done.
Yeah.
Again, not to get political, but I put this in here because it really seems like it's going to affect games. The tariffs are coming, and it does seem, at least from like the business analysts that have overlooked it, and the reason I put it in here is because specifically it has a real chance to impact physical games and
Yeah.
systems
And digital stuff.
enough to physical games that this might be the final nail for physical games and movies.
Yeah.
So, because
But it's-
what did we determine? Like 75% of that stuff comes from Mexico,
A lot
right?
of it did.
A lot of the printed discs and stuff. So,
But
I mean,
this also is like video cards, systems.
Yeah.
Like it's everything. Where do you think your phone is made?
exactly.
Not here.
So it's again, we don't know because it's every day
It's just gonna be messy for a really long time.
It is.
And it's gonna be weird.
Like I said, every day it's like, okay, it's going to be this date, and then maybe 6 hours it's like, well, maybe not, or maybe it's only
But
going to be these certain items.
You're talking about,
so.
but the thing is like companies in other countries. Like I work for a place where we import.
Yeah.
We buy a lot of stuff from Canada, dude.
Well,
we're already getting notices from them. It says like, this is the percent amount that it has to go up. This is how much we're gonna eat of it, but we have to pass the rest to you. And it's like, I get it, man. Like I get it.
I'll tell you, not a non-video game thing that it impacts, at least for me, is the people that manufacture guitar pedals. Because they source all those parts. So like yesterday I bought a pedal or today I bought a pedal that I've been sitting on a while that's like down to 30 because I just know if these tariffs hit, it's going to be 90.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's going to get extreme. So,
that's what we had to do. We had to make a decision of like, what can we bulk buy now and hope that it doesn't get too terrible.
There's a couple of those like in America, like there's a lot of independent pedal builders and stuff that I follow that are just like that might be the end of this business for me, you know, if that happens, because I can't, like, I could try and source as many parts as I need now, but at some point it's not viable.
I mean, realistically, it's essentially kind of like how people online, like, I don't know if you guys have seen, but online bakers were giving heat to Walmart for making like $12 heart cakes or some shit like that for a while.
I think I saw something about that.
These online bakers were selling these Valentine's Day heart cakes for $50-$60, and they were like talking shit on Walmart for selling these cakes at like $15-$20 a pop. And it's like, I get you're an independent baker, and I'm not here to downplay your role, and your cakes might be the most delicious cake in the world, but it's a cake. And while, yeah, I'd love to support small businesses, I am not paying $40 extra out of my wallet for a cake that I'm just going to.
And it's
like,
if they're a business owner, it's kind of weird for them to attack Walmart on that. Like, Walmart is cheap on scale, not on anything else.
Yeah.
Like, they are one of the biggest probably buyers and sellers of goods in the entire world, like by far. So they get the best deals. Like, it's the way the world works. And yes, I support local businesses as much as I can. But but it's difficult sometimes when, you know, and no fault of their own. And I will pay slightly more for a local business than I would for anywhere else. And hell, half the time, like if I want tacos, the local place is A, better, and B, cheaper than
for sure
Chipotle and everybody else. Like And so
100%.
yeah, but to compare yourself to Walmart, it's kind of a weird step. Like
Weird.
you should make more sense to be like a local bakery chain, or I guess if you're a baker like Panera or something. But
Yeah.
the tariff shit's gonna get nasty, and it's. I have a feeling it's gonna be weird for a while, and then eventually it's gonna be like, well, we kind of had to change it back, and it's like, but by that point it's too late because we've already pissed everybody off. So what's to say that like, because the problem is this is working both ways. So now if we impose a tariff on stuff coming in, they're going to impose a tariff on stuff going out. I sure hope you don't ship to Canada or Mexico.
Yeah.
Because now you're fucked another way. Kyle and I used to work in a place where we shipped to Canada all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And we would have to deal with weird, like the duties,
fees and duties and taxes and things that people just did not understand.
Shit show, and people in that country didn't understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a mess. I hate it.
They wouldn't understand when they bought the item that they were going to owe that stuff, and then they'd get it and be like, well, why do I owe all this other? You know,
call
it's
your
a
government.
mess.
Like, I don't know.
So it was a mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be messy for a while. Like I said, I mean, I said before that was the main reason I bought a PS5 Pro at the time, and I really hope that we're going to see what happens with the Switch 2. I don't know. I don't think, even with tariffs, I don't think that's going to stop anybody from trying to buy a Switch 2.
Oh, fuck.
But
God, don't.
It's going to be a pain in the ass.
Let's talk about it. That system could be $500, and it's sold out day one.
Absolutely.
It's not a question.
But we'll keep an eye on it. I told you this earlier. First Descendant is going to end its last gen support in June.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll just be a current gen only game. Not surprising. I mean, we're in 2025. So
yeah,
the PS
I played a little bit of that, but
the PS4 came out in 2013, man. This is another exciting announcement this week. So there was I would say this is like what your B-level company that makes games, Nacon. They had a showcase that had some very interesting. I watched most of the trailers actually, but the biggest thing coming out of there is RoboCop Rogue City is getting a standalone DLC expansion, so you don't have to have Rogue City to play this. Called Unfinished Business, comes out this summer. From watching the trailer, it seems like you are RoboCop taking down a bunch of enemies in one skyscraper.
Ooh.
So it's not going to be like super long or anything.
This is my
but,
Dread
it
game
reminds
that
me
I
of
want?
Dread.
Yeah.
So
I told you I want now that they've done this, I want them to make a Dread game.
Yeah.
I want a Demolition Man game.
Yeah.
I want all of those movies. Do it.
I need to play the Terminator one because apparently that
one
really
looks
good
really
too.
good.
I have it. I just haven't played
that one. I'm talking about the new one.
The new one looks good too. I didn't put that in the news, but yeah, that 2D one.
Yeah,
awesome.
It reminds me of the Super Nintendo ones.
Yeah,
and those games were not good, but I played them all the time.
It comes out in September, so
yeah,
that game looks cool.
Yeah,
but I'll highlight like the couple other games I had looked here. That for whatever reason I keep thinking that Hell Is Us game is a PlayStation first party game. It's not. It's on everything.
Yeah.
But that game continues to look cool. That's out in September. They showed it was a CG trailer, so you don't get the sense of like what kind of game it's going to be. I would assume it's probably like a third-person horror game, but this Cthulhu, the Cosmic Abyss, I thought that looked really cool.
Yeah.
There's another one that kind of reminds me of almost like a Firewatch type walking simulator type game that was leaning into horror called The Fading of Nicole Wilson. That was kind of cool. That Edge of Memories game, which I believe is from the people that made that Edge of Eternity or Echoes, whatever that game is. It came out maybe like 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, okay.
This game looks cool. It's out this fall. Another Test Drive Unlimited. I think it was like season 3 of that. And then the last one there's other stuff in here I'm not going to cover, but the last thing in here I put in because I think it's funny. Do you remember the character Styx? Remember when like those 2 stealth games came out in the Xbox One era, and like there was an audience that really liked those games. Like it's kind of weird. There's a new one coming this fall called Blades of Greed. So it's kind of like I saw it and I just kind of laughed. It was like, wow, Styx is coming back.
Styx is here.
He's back.
We live in a world where we got another Styx game before we got another Blinks game.
As I say, before GTA 6, we've gotten John Cena to turn heel, and we got another Styx game. So. What a time to be alive. Respawn Entertainment has canceled a mysterious first-person shooter game. A lot of people were immediately jumping to say it's Titanfall 3, but it seems like it was a multiplayer thing. So I don't know if it necessarily would have been Titanfall.
I would
3.
hope it's not Titanfall 3 because I would like for them to make Titanfall 3.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Such a good game.
Everybody does, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
It won't.
So
Titanfall we talked about it before. Titanfall got absorbed into Apex, and that's just what it is now.
and that's like that Titanfall 3 became Apex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then finally, prepare yourself because the Death Stranding 2 release date is incoming, probably imminent this Sunday. There's going to be a big, like at the South by Southwest convention, there's a big showcase.
Yeah, but isn't it just like the one they did the last time?
Apparently,
a weird
they're gonna
40-minute business presentation.
So there will be a new trailer that has been confirmed. He's cut a new trailer. They're going to show there. Supposedly, they're going to announce the release date and the pre-orders. So there'll be a collector's edition.
What was the CE last time? Was it a BB?
I didn't get the CE.
Is it
so
the puppet this time?
That
What
would
if
be
you get the
cool.
puppet?
Ooh.
I remember, and I kind of kicked myself I didn't get the Pro, but remember the PS4 Pro came with that cool controller that had the BB in the controller? I kind of wish I got that. So, but I'm super excited. I'm going to watch the presentation on Sunday. It sounds like it's coming this year. This is one of my most anticipated games. So I love the original Death Stranding.
I wonder if they'll do the thing after this where they let game outlets show like 20 minutes. Remember the first one, Giant Bomb did a thing where like Brad and Jeff were they played like the first like 20 or 30 minutes of it.
Yeah.
But they had a clock because they could show that amount of time of like actual gameplay. So they would cut back, he would go do something, they cut back in.
I remember that.
So maybe they'll let people do that again.
Maybe they'll do that. I don't know. But I'm excited. That's on Sunday, I think 4 p.m. Eastern. So there'll be a big
need to play the first one.
You should play the first one.
Hey, speaking of controllers, I showed you that Last of Us is getting a dual shot too.
Yeah.
I like, you and I, we like weird controllers and stuff.
I love
that's
weird
one
controllers.
I would pick up, if only because I know that's going to immediately like quadruple in price.
It's going to be worth a lot.
That controller will be $300 almost immediately.
I am really into those new like cosmic or whatever they are, like the shiny PlayStation DualSense. I have that purple one. There's a red one now that looks really cool. But yeah, you sent me the thing about the Last of Us controller. Like, I'm personally not interested, but I know it will be sought after
immediately.
It's going to immediately go up in price. So,
and like
I would have rather gotten the Spider-Man one.
I have
honestly,
that one. I have the Spider-Man one. I have the Astrobot one. The Astrobot one I did open.
You got the anniversary one. That's probably the one I would have wanted the most.
So cool.
Before we kick over to movies, we can do our game recommendations for the week. So I just put it here because of the announcement of Tony Hawk's 3 and 4. I think people, if you live under a rock and didn't, you should play the remaster of 1 and 2. I'm actually surprised with this announcement that Microsoft didn't put 1 and 2 on Game Pass. It's weird that
whatever the rules are for them putting Activision stuff on Xbox are fucked up.
It's bizarre.
It's driving me crazy.
That seems like the perfect time to do that, right? Hey, get caught up. Play the first one on Game Pass today.
They should be releasing 4 Activision games a month.
It's really
put them all on there. What is going on?
But if you haven't played the remaster, they are excellent. Both in that package, it's a great package. So, and it's on everything. There's a native PS5 and Series X version of that game. So, but highly recommended. You have an interesting one here, Dan. You actually have the box.
Yeah. So I my thought for doing these recommendations was I'm going to try to pull out like my copies of them just to show them off a little bit because, I collect. I have a ton of games. Like, it's a problem. We know this. But so I wanted to like pull stuff out of my collection to show off that I really like that maybe isn't super popular or anything like that. So my choice for this time, it's a game called Riviera, The Promised Land for Game Boy Advance. This is a very good RPG by Atlas. So, this was at a time where, I bought everything Atlas that came out because it always is worth money and they generally are pretty good. So
it's worse today than it was then.
It's worse now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, this is actually a really, really good RPG. And part of the reason I bought it when it came out is because it kind of gave me like Golden Sun vibes, right?
Yeah.
But when you play through it, it's really not like that. It's more of a linear RPG, and it's kind of hard to explain. And gameplay would do it more justice than I will. But you kind of like follow a path, and based on what you do going through this, like there's secret paths you can go down, and there's different choices you can make. Battles are encounters are scripted, not battles, but encounters are scripted, so you will fight the same person at the same place. But if you do something correctly, you can go to a room that you can't go back where you came from. Like you're always going forward. But the real interesting part about this game is you don't level up normally. Like there's not like you beat a person, you get XP and you get better stats. All of the stats are tied to weapons in this game, and you level up by leveling up weapons and using weapons. And it's so like you're always finding new weapons. But the other side of that is weapons are limited. So like you'll open a chest and there'll be 30 of a sword in it. So if you use it, it's gone. But you can do these things called like practice battles where you can level up and you don't use the weapon. So that's how you grind. Yeah. That's your grind.
Okay.
But it's actually really, really interesting like level up mechanic. And as you play through it, it kind of makes more sense and you learn how to do your stuff. But what I will say, and because it's an Atlas game, like the graphics in this game are incredible. For a Game Boy Advance game that came out in 2004, I would argue this probably still looks like one of the better games you'd see today in terms of like with this kind of style. The music's incredible. This has an insane amount of voice acting in it. Keeping in mind that this is a Game Boy Advance cartridge that has voice acting. Just a really, really, really good game. I mean, obviously buying a copy of it now is going to be difficult. It was on PSP as well. It came out a couple years later. It seems like
it's probably a harder game to find
for sure
because it's an Atlas game.
It's an Atlas game. I don't know if I wouldn't say I'm necessarily looking for it at places, but I don't know how often I actually see it around. Let's do a quick.
You find a PSP copy.
I can tell you
I was going to do a quick game I check. Yeah.
Game Boy Advance copy of the game cartridge goes for $42. If you want a box copy, it's close to $100.
Okay,
it is much cheaper on PSP.
Yeah, because that came out later, and I want to say there were more copies of that for sure.
Yeah, the PSP version is $17 or $30 if you find it complete.
But I highly recommend it. I mean, obviously it's a Game Boy Advance game. If you are on the internet, there are ways to play Game Boy Advance games very easily.
Oh
yeah. But I would say give it a shot if you like old school, turn-based RPGs and you like music and graphics and stuff. You can't go wrong with this game. Really good.
Is that game that might have retro achievements if you were to play it?
Shit, don't tempt me. Fuck it, I'm gonna look it up while Matt talks. I'm looking it up.
Oh jeez. So I picked a little side-scrolling shooter, guns, gore, and cannoli. I can't remember if I played that on PS4 whenever I did. But I know I played.
I think it was a plus game at some point.
I think that's where I got that. Mm-hmm. I think it was a plus game. And then 2, they made a second one. And I went ahead and bought the second one. It's just a really fun, like, side-scrolling shooter. I mean, there's really nothing to it. It's not really in-depth, but it's just... I don't even really know how to explain it. It was just a lot of fun. Like... That's really the best way of doing it. It wasn't serious. It wasn't anything that was crazy. It wasn't very in-depth. And it's relatively cheap, like $9. So I was
going to say, anytime I ever see it on sale, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, I mean, it's super cheap. It does get chaotic at times, but it's a good chaos. So, and you don't have to put a lot of thought into it. That's where I really am aiming to play a lot of games now, where I don't put a lot of brain power into it, because I am just not in it right now. For games that make me have to do too much thinking. But if you find it, grab it. It's a great game.
And I think, like I said, I think it's on the digital stores I think it's on everything. I think it's on Switch too, probably. So.
Oh yeah,
I've definitely seen it. I've definitely seen it in the eShop before. So. But we can kick over to. Oh yeah,
real quick,
tell me, Rivera.
No retro achievements.
No
people really want them. Some guy was working on him, but he dropped it a year ago.
What was the game we discussed the other day? You told me has retro achievements.
Fucking The Bouncer.
The Bouncer.
Oh, that's such a good one.
I was telling Kyle, all right, I love The Bouncer. Maybe we'll save this for.
I think that
All right, bonus
PCs
recommendation. Bonus
feel this
recommendation. The Bouncer.
The Bouncer.
Incredibly good brawler for PS2. If you've never heard of it, it's made by Square, and it definitely has like a Square vibe to it. It got retro achievements. One of the achievements is don't skip any of the cutscenes, which I think is that's an awesome achievement. But that game has fucking awesome cutscenes.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about the game is I did not know it when I was doing it. But so there's 3 different guys you can play as, and they level up as you play through. And there's really an incentive to like replay the game and play as somebody else.
Yeah.
The third time you play through the game, it changes. And they don't tell you that it's going to happen. It's never telegraphed at all. But basically, you beat the final boss, and you're like, okay, fine. And I remember it distinctly because you beat the final boss, and then he gets up. And then he like rips his shirt off, and then he's got like this tattoo on his back. And you're like, well, I was like, what the fuck is happening? And then he just beat the shit out of me. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Super good game. God, this came out March of 2001.
I was gonna say it was a launch window title.
It is the first game I bought after I got my PS2. Because I bought like a PS2 bundle on eBay and stuff, and then this was the first individual game I bought. I love this game. I would kill for this to be on that PS2 retro stuff.
Crazy that it has.
I don't get why it's not there. Please put it on there. If we can get this shitty Indiana Jones game, I can get this.
There you go.
That's a license game.
Yeah.
But we can kick over to movies. I got a lot. I'm going to hold the things that you and I have both collectively watched, Matt, so we can discuss those together. Because there's some wild shit to
There's
discuss.
some gems in there, my guy.
I should put the third one in because I watched the third one of that. But we'll kick off. Let's see. So I was, like I said, I was sick. I had the flu, and when you have the flu, you watch weird shit. Most of my flu, I told you that one day, like I literally just slept and put The Simpsons on in the background and like barely paid attention to it because I just wanted something that like I don't need to pay attention to this, but I'm glad that it's on. But once I was feeling a little bit better and with it, I went and sought out this old 80s like pre-Nintendo video game comedy called Joysticks. And I don't even remember. I don't know if I was looking. I have a Facebook group I'm a part of that's like the VHS backrooms or something like that. And it's all people that collect VHS tapes.
Oh, Lord.
But a lot of times they will recommend movies that are like either not readily available or a lot of this stuff just gets shoved to Tubi. And this was a movie so I actually loaded up Tubi for the first time in a while. And I watched it there. It's not good. It's weird because it's an 80s sex comedy. There's a lot of nudity, but then they cut some sort of deal with Atari in this movie. So they're constantly playing Pac-Man and playing the Pac-Man music, and they have all the sound effects. It's very weird.
So this
and
is
it
like
just reminded me
83 prequel is what you're saying.
It's a prequel. Yeah, exactly. It is a wild and weird movie. I don't recommend it though. It's not great, but it was a fun time capsule to watch. Whereas the other 80s movie, and Matt and I will talk about in a minute here, we'll just say was a time capsule to watch. I wouldn't say I would use the term fun.
Oh my gosh.
More recent stuff that I watched, like more recent, the only like real movie I watched that is a more recent one is I watched Presence, which is
that Lucy Liu one, right?
Was the first spooky one that came out this year. Yeah, it is the ghost movie. It is told from the perspective of the ghost in the house that this family moves into. It is fucking terrible. You would think it would be an interesting idea to film a movie from the perspective of a ghost. It's not.
Nope.
I assume that's been done before.
They don't. I would assume too, but like I'll have to look into it. But it's boring. It's long. The story is stupid. There is a twist in it that is very dumb, and the way that it ends is very laughable. Like I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna spoil it because I don't think it's worth people's time watching this movie. But it is,
my guy.
It is not good. So I cannot recommend it. There's literally zero spookiness about this movie. So there wasn't no jump scares. There is like 2 times the ghost tries to do something to it's not to scare them, it's to alert them of something. So like one of the times it shakes the closet and a bunch of books fall down. Like it's stuff like that.
So Matthew McConaughey's in the closet and he's poking the
tapping
books.
the bookshelf.
All right.
It sucks. Don't watch it. Don't get suckered into it. It is bad. TV stuff. We have watched more Castlevania. I'm not done. We have 2 episodes left of it, but it continues to be very good. It is very much leading up to, I'm sure there'll be another season or 2 of this version, but it's very much leading up to what I assume the next series will be Symphony of the Night. So I would assume that's the plan. Like that's where they want to go with it. So, very good. The Oscars happen. I watched the Oscars. I'm going to go off on that for a minute. They weren't bad. I would say the actual award show for the Oscars this year was not bad. It's probably one of the better ones they've had for a while. They ran a tight ship. Other than Adrian Brody, who I guess I did not know at the time I watched the Oscars, but I guess he set the world record for longest Oscar speech.
Oh,
he kept going, but it was one of those where it was kind of like, come on, dude, like let's get over it. But I guess he set some sort of record. Every other fucking person, they would like, it was like 90 seconds, get off the stage. There was one where it was 3 people came up because it was one of the technical awards. When they got to the third person, he literally walked up to the mic, started to talk, and they just played the music, and he just kind of smiled and had to leave. Yeah, they were just like, get these fucking people off the stage. Apparently, if you watched it on Hulu, it did not air the last half hour. It just cut, and which is really weird because it's a streaming service. I don't know why that would happen. My biggest issue with the Oscars this year was that we let Anora win too many things because I don't think it's a particularly great movie, and they basically did Demi Moore dirty and like real life substance by letting her win over Demi Moore. Like that was the joke that was going around, but like it's true. And I don't like, as someone who's seen Anora, I don't think that movie's that great. So it was like for movie stuff, it was a bummer, but in terms of the show and like Conan being a host, it was very good. So, and I guess he's coming back next year. So, which is cool. And then last TV thing I watched is I've seen the first 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. I'm not going to mention any spoilers, but I will say other than they really needed to have a recap because it's been 7 years since the last season. And I get like this is Born Again. It's a new series with these characters. It still really would benefit.
Right.
I will say the way that it begins, again, no spoilers. It does begin as like the tail end of what I would say is the last series before it jumps to present day.
Okay.
There is something that happens that propels it to present day. Without spoiling anything. So it is very good. It is very well done. And what I like about it, and the thing, I think the lesson that show originally learned is the strength of that show is him versus Fisk.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
is and they kind of got away from it in season 2. I think they went not a bad season, but they went too hard on
Elektra.
They went too hard on Elektra and the clan and all that stuff.
Elektra,
and then
I'm like, as a big Daredevil
she's
guy,
a cool character.
I'm a huge Daredevil fan. Like maybe we've talked about it on the show before, maybe not, but you know this about me. Like Elektra is important and the hand is important. And but if we're not gonna do like Shadowland the way like it's supposed to be done, the hand isn't that important. The crux of the show is definitely him and Fisk. And like Bullseye was cool too. Like Bullseye's a big part of it too. He has to be there. But man, I'm so fucking excited that this show's back.
The first 2 episodes are very well done. Easily, like, it's a thing where I when I got done, I said this is a very good beginning. I hope it maintains. I hope we don't derail somewhere. I mean, again, you have to remember this is Marvel handling it now, so there is a chance they could derail it. But for how it has started, it is very well done. It feels natural to the net. Like, it is as violent. It is as full of language and everything that you expect from the Netflix show. Like, it has lost none of that.
Yeah, and I'm happy about that too, because this was it was in pre-production hell. where it got
they filmed 6
rebooted
episodes
and
entirely.
Foggy and Karen
it.
weren't in it, and it was just like, if you're gonna do that, then you're not making a sequel and you're making something else.
Exactly.
Then why is he here and why is Fisk? Like, it's at that point you're not doing it. The strongest thing they could have done was embrace the Netflix, admit that it existed, and continue it.
Exactly. So, but yeah, 2 episodes in, I'm hooked on it already. I'm bummed because, again, Netflix, the whole thing is you get everything at once. That is the only other hard pill to swallow here. Is it's Disney Plus. You're gonna have to wait weekly. At least you get the first 2 episodes, but the weekly wait for this show is gonna suck. So that's, but for me to say that's the worst part of it, or that they don't have
you want more of it,
yeah.
The worst part is I want to watch more of it.
Exactly. Yeah. That covers those things. Let's talk about the things that you and I have collectively watched, Matt. So I'm gonna start with a movie that I put on one night. I like to go through movies that I've had on my on the server that I've had sitting there for a while. And especially when I'm sick, I'll scroll through and try to find something. I'm like, I don't know what this is. I'll watch this, especially if it's like an old 80s movie or slasher or something. So I found this movie, 1981, called Final Exam. I didn't know anything about it. I've probably had it for 5+ years. And for whatever reason, then the night that I watched it, I was feeling perky from the flu. And I was like, I'm going to watch this old horror movie. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I will start by saying this movie's not good, but
not at all.
The reason it is worth discussing is not the slasher aspect of this movie. That part, shockingly, it's a 90-minute movie. Only about 20 minutes of it is a slasher. The rest of this movie is set on a college campus in the 80s. It is important to note, and I'll say this several times, the movie is set in 1981. So keep that in mind. It's 80s. It is a different time. They did different things back then that would not be acceptable today.
Oh, for sure.
This movie, they decide the movie's called Final Exam. So it's exam week at this college. And the jocks of this school decide, hey, man, we're going to pull a prank so we can adjust the grades of this. I think it's a calculus exam. And they do. And again, spoiler warning and fair warning, this is not something that you would do in 2025 as a joke or a prank. They stage a school shooting as a prank. And when I say, and I will describe this in detail, like what happens is it is a shot of this college campus. They're outside. The kids are walking around, whatever, between classes. This fucking van pulls up with dudes in a ski mask. Side of the van opens, and this dude with a rifle just opens fire and just starts shooting kids. And I'm sitting there like, what? Like I was mind fucked when it happened, because I'm just like, holy shit, what is, like, this has nothing to do with the slasher. Like, what the fuck is going on? And like they show a couple kids, get picked off or whatever. And then it didn't dawn on me until one of the guys gets out of the van and they start picking these kids up that were shot and bring them back to the van. And I'm like, oh my God, if this is going to be a prank, I can't believe this. Sure enough, like they get done. They fucking go back to the kids that are in the classroom that are doing the exam, because there are kids that ran to the window like, what's going on? And then the kids that know what's going on are, fucking around with the exam. And they go back, they have those kids leave in the van, they're leaving, and they take off their masks like, oh man, we pulled it off, a prank, whatever.
It is
all a prank,
man.
And then they call, so one kid calls the cop, like the local sheriff comes down, and when the sheriff comes, it's realized it's a prank. There are literal professors and like college teachers at this college that are like, man, them darn college kids are crazy. What a crazy prank they did. Isn't that funny? Like, it is ridiculous how hard in the paint they go over the school shooting. And I just say, that's why I text Matt. I was like, I need someone else to see this, so I know it's not a fever dream.
It's
that I'm
horrible.
Because I'm coming off the flu. I'm like, this is so fucking insane. And then the whole point of that part of it too is like, so when the slasher part of the movie happens, which is the most generic and lame slasher you'll ever see. It is a guy. They never explain why he's doing what he's doing. He does not wear a mask. He just shows up and starts killing kids at night. And so what happens, and this makes sense now when you go back to the prank, is the same kid calls the sheriff, and the sheriff's like, I ain't fucking coming out there. I ain't coming for another prank. So no cop comes. And that guy, I don't know, he takes out a couple kids, and then he has like a generic fight with this one girl. They go up into like a clock tower, and she pushes him off a ledge, and he falls and dies.
Yeah.
But
so the one thing I thought was interesting was how they shot him killing the people. You don't really see his full face, which
you see it once when he's walking around, and it's just like, what?
Yeah,
like,
so it's just it's shot weird in that aspect. The prank threw me off, dude, because I was not
it's
expecting
out of nowhere. Like it's literally out of nowhere because like it's probably a half hour into the movie before that happens. And I'd say other than the opening, because the movie opens with a slasher kill.
Yeah,
it's like two kids fucking around in a car, and the slasher comes and kills them, and
they
then
both get got.
And then they have the title sequence, and then it's these kids talking about like, did you hear what happened to this other college campus? And like I thought at that point, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be your typical college, whatever 80s slasher. And then, like I said, then they all start talking about this exam, and then that shit happens, and I'm like, what am I fucking watching?
It was wild, man.
Insane. There's nothing more to say. It's just,
but it was
fucked
absolute
up.
trash. It was trash. Please don't watch it.
It's not a good movie. Like I will preface to say, it's 1981. It's not a good movie. People should not seek this out.
No, don't go watching it.
But holy shit, man!
Bad.
Like it made me sit there and think, man, it's been almost 45 years since this movie came out. How things have wildly changed. So,
oh yeah.
The other things that we watched collectively, you and I, the Stepfather series. So I've seen the first one. I love the first one. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Dan. Do you know what the Stepfather? Okay. I know I'm talking the original, not the shitty 2009.
No, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and it's crazy because you said that you were like, watch the original, and I was like, the original?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was original.
There is a 2009 remake.
Oh, okay, yeah, I saw the remake, and that's why I was like, when you were like, watch the Stepfather, I was like, I already did. It was, it was nothing crazy. And then you were like, no, the original, and I was like, oh wait, what? And yeah. So I don't really know, man. Like, I thought the guy who played in the first and the second one, I liked the Stepfather. I thought he did a really good job.
I can't think of the actor's name, but he's the actor that plays Locke on Lost.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pretty predominant character actor in the 80s and 90s. But he's like, this is probably his most well-known role is the Stepfather, and he's very good in the role because basically he is a serial killer that just remarries. And he'll try to make the marriage work, but then he'll get to a breaking point where he can't do it anymore, and his psyche snaps. Because the famous scene in the first movie is like he snaps at the end and is like, "Wait, who am I here again?" And the wife's like, "Huh?" And that's when he snaps and starts killing. So the one thing that caught up in his lie.
So the one thing that threw me off in the first and the second one versus the third one was the way his kills happen, because in the first and the second one he had families away from his place and his location, but in the third one he was trying to hit on a girl who was literally could be traced back to him, which really made no sense.
The third movie is kind of weird in comparison.
So I mean, like the first two had of course a different aspect than the third one did, but like I enjoyed the actor from the third one who played the Stepfather too.
So it's important to note the third movie, it's a different actor, and the way they get around that is he has plastic surgery, like black market plastic surgery.
So wild.
And what's crazy is the third movie was a made-for-TV movie. They go very hard in graphic detail with this surgery.
Yeah,
like
it's
to the
crazy.
point that I'm like, wow, this is kind of hardcore. But the thing I'll say is like the actor in the third movie that plays him like nails the mannerisms and the voice of the same guy. And it's a different actor, but like he's very good at playing the same character. But they're all good. Like even the third one, like I enjoyed it for what it was. It's not as good as the first two, but it's still good.
Yeah.
That one, for whatever reason, that one's really hard to find. I can only find it on Tubi. I have the other two. So
it's not like, I would say even watching all three of them like together, they're not horrible.
No, they're good. Like I said, they're good. They're enjoyable. They're different. It's not like it used to be. And it's not like the 2009. I don't remember anything about the 2009 one other than I didn't think it was good.
I don't think I ever watched that one.
Okay.
Yeah, the
And-
2009 one was not. That's why when you told me to watch it, I was like, no, I don't really want to. Like, rewatch
so I was like,
it.
no. I think I sent you the IMDb link because I'm like, look
Yeah.
at this. This is not what you think it is. Like, oh, okay. Because the first one also has that cool intro where like he's shaving and like getting ready for the day, and then he walks out and it's just like the entire murder scene of that family he's killed.
Dude,
And it
that
comes
was
out
so
of nowhere.
crazy.
Yeah, it's
it was so
unexpected.
wild.
So, and it gets pretty
Enjoyable.
violent at the end of that movie too. So
It was an enjoyable movie. To
it's
be honest
enjoyable.
with you.
Yeah. It's a fun slasher, but it has a good element of suspense to it.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are fun. So I'd say watch those. Don't watch Final Exam.
Please don't.
Do you want to continue what you've watched and then we can let Dan go?
Yeah.
Why
don't we do that?
It looks like me and Dan watched a movie together too, so we'll do that. So I watched this movie called Snack Shack. My wife told me about it. She saw like a short on TikTok and wanted to check it out. It's one of those like summer films, like, you know,
Yeah, okay.
kids getting summer jobs and then kind of like doing their own thing. It was actually really good. It was about these two best friends who are like essentially trying to like earn enough money in the summer to kind of like goof off and bullshit around. And there's one who's like the I would say the mouth between the two of them,
Okay.
and then one who's just the worker. But of course, you know, the next door neighbor gets her cousin to live with her for the summer, so the worker kid grows a crush on her, but of course he doesn't know how to like approach her. So then his friend, who's like the mouth, gets like essentially like hits on her, and she accepts his pass, and then, you know, they bicker and they fight, and then like this thing happens at the near the end of the movie that kind of brings them back together again, brings the two friends back together again.
Okay.
All in all, it's a solid film. I saw it, I think, on Amazon Prime.
Okay, I was gonna say, what's it on?
Yeah, Amazon Prime. It was actually not bad. It was actually pretty good. It's essentially shot back from the 90s. That's the setting of it. So a lot of the stuff they do in the 90s, of course, it can't be done now, but, you know, it's interesting
Does it
to
actually
see.
feel like the 90s though? Or
Yeah,
is it
like
okay,
legitimately, it really does.
Sometimes they do that and you're like, man, I grew up in the 90s. This don't feel like that. Okay.
Well, yeah. So like there's a lot that they do back in the day that it does feel like. So the big setting is there's a community pool, and in that community pool there's a snack shack.
Yeah.
And that's how these two kids are earning their money for the summer. And like legitimately, you're like, oh yeah, you know, I remember seeing places
I
like
was
that.
saying, it sounds like
things
the
like that.
beach by us. We had.
See,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's actually really good. I would
Okay.
actually say
I'd
if
probably
you got
watch that.
Amazon Prime, give it a shot. It's not bad. Another one I watched was Venom: The Last Dance.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That movie sucks.
Yeah, it was not great. I just hate the way they did Venom. Like it's a buddy cop movie, and I just was not a big fan of how it was done. Like, and I'm not a big comic guy. Like, don't get me wrong, I got a lot of them, and I try my hardest to watch, like, read them through, but I just can't. But I just know like the backstory to Venom, and it's like he's just like this like crazy symbiote, and it's just like he's here giggling and like talking, and it's just like it doesn't make sense of what we're doing here. So
there is aspects of like the comic where he does like have like an anti-hero arc for a little while, but like these movies just got so far off the rails at some point, and like I'm not even sure who they're for.
So if I can say, my son and one of his best friends, they're both 10, 11. They absolutely loved all the Venom films. Like, they like the character, they like everything about it. Like, they sat down and enjoyed them.
I think that's even what Tom Hardy has said. Like, can he do it for his kid or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, that was the whole point. So,
I mean, watch it if you want to watch it. Don't watch it. I mean, I don't care what you do. Just note that we're not supporting this movie.
It's a mess. I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah,
I like I said, I never watched the second one, so I'm not going to watch the third one.
Yeah,
the second one's bad too.
I've seen the second one and the unofficial prequel. So
there you go. And then I've been watching this anime on Netflix called Sakamoto Days. It's essentially about a retired hitman who has a family, and his wife essentially told him if he wanted to marry her, he had to retire from being a hitman. So he retires. They own like a grocery store. Nothing crazy. But then he gets kind of sucked back in to
Like John
like
Wick.
kind of like a John Wick type thing, except Sakamoto is like overweight. Like he's like 70 pounds overweight. He's wearing glasses now. Like he does not look like the same person he was when he retired. And the big thing is his wife knows what he does. His wife got him out of that line. And so like as he's going back in, she's like, the one rule is you can't kill anybody. If you kill somebody, I will divorce you and leave. And he's like, oh, okay. So like he goes through this like trying to like essentially not die because assassins are coming after him, and he can't kill anybody. So he's like either letting other assassins do the work for him so he doesn't have to be the one to do it, or he's just literally like knocking people out and just like leaving them alone. And they essentially like, you know, revert to like ways of like, oh, maybe he has the better path and stuff like that. It's a really good anime. It's only like 8 episodes deep. So I definitely say if you got opportunity to watch it, give it a shot. And then going on what me and Dan both watched, Love Hurts.
I was gonna say, I'm not surprised that you watched this too, Dan.
Oh, of course. I love my boy.
Yeah, he's so good.
He's very good. The movie though is fine.
It's okay.
Yeah, like it's not bad, but whatever the plot is very weak. The main girl character, like the love interest, if you even want to call her that, her character motivations are so off the wall. Like none of it makes any sense. She's a lawyer, but she's an accountant, and she was stealing money, but the other guy was stealing money, and he framed her. And then like she sends him these Valentines, but then that line of is just quickly dropped. Like like so much of it just doesn't make any sense from like the next scene to the next, that you kind of have to just be like, all right, fine, fuck it, I don't care, and ignore it and let the movie play out. It's fine. It's nothing like, he's great in it. Like he's just fun to watch, and like the action scenes for the most part are good. They're shot kind of weird where sometimes it feels like the flow gets interrupted, but I mean, at least it's him doing all his own stuff.
Isn't he in that new Netflix one that was out today with Millie Bob Brown and Chris Pratt?
Okay. Yeah, I gotta watch it. The Electric State or something like that.
Yeah, with the robot.
Yeah. Love Hurts was a movie where I was excited for it, and then I watched it and just went, okay.
It hit digital real fast.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't expect much out of it. Like, and I feel bad for saying that.
It came out the same day as Captain America. Like, even though we know Captain America's not great, like, one of those two movies is gonna still do better at the box office. So, I'm not surprised it hit digital really fast, but
I'm not either. Like,
yeah. I mean, I appreciate the fact that he did his own stunts. In the movie.
That's why I wanted to see it.
Same here, but all in all, I agree with you. Like there was a lot of like points that I didn't really understand for the most part, and I don't know. Like the villain essentially is his brother, and him drinking boba all the time kind of threw me off because I was like,
because they set that up so that when he uses that like glass straw as a weapon, like it at least makes some kind of fucking sense, but it really doesn't.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Like, and it's just kind of like, okay.
They keep having this talk, like she keeps talking to him about, because like he's retired from this life and he's like a realtor now, and she keeps like poking him and be like, you need to unlock like the real you, and like, but she said that to him for like a fucking hour, and like he finally does it at the very end, and you're like, okay, that was really cool, but it's like, okay, it's a strange movie.
I think what really did it for me is he consistently kept telling her he loved his life now.
Right.
Like he was tired of doing what he did prior, and what he did now, he felt a sense of accomplishment to it. And it's kind of like you essentially goaded him into coming out because you needed his help, because you decided to out, yourself
After he
and
saved
what
your
happened.
life.
Exactly.
Here's another.
Like he let you go.
All right, we're gonna get into full spoiler territory, and let me see if this makes sense for you, Matt.
Okay.
So he was supposed to have killed her, like buried her
Yep.
in this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then does she work at the strip club in town? How did no one ever see her?
No, she worked somewhere out of town.
Okay, because like that was confusing as fuck for me, because like she's here all the time, she's in town all the time. All of these guys, no one's ever fucking seen her the whole time.
Well, and that's why at the end of the movie, when she gave the information to the Russians,
Right.
That's why I think nobody really knew about her, because she was in more Russian territory.
It was just a strange thing where it's like, for someone who's supposed to have been dead and have been gone for a while, she sure is around town a lot.
Yeah.
Hanging out, and like, even if she's only at the strip club a couple times, you can't tell me that none of these guys would have seen her and been like, hey, isn't that chick we had murdered? Who stole all the money? Like, I don't, it's fun to watch, but it's a little weird.
It's just like, don't go in thinking it's going to be an in-depth story.
Turn your head off.
It's really
Turn your brain
not.
off and just watch it for him flipping around shit.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Because his fight scenes were really dope. I really like the one in his house was really good. I really enjoyed that one. And then the last one was pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
But like I did, I watched it because of him. I really like him. As after watching everything, all at once and all that, I was like, man, I really like what he's been doing.
I was so happy he was back, and then he won that Oscar because he totally fucking deserved it. And
so good.
And he's just a cool guy. Like, he's so grateful for everything he has. Like, he loves the fact that like Harrison Ford even remembers him, even though he's in one of the biggest fucking movies of the 80s. Thing with him, like, he was great in the Loki season 2. He just seems like he's a fun guy who just fucking loves his life and just doing what he does, and that's why I support him.
I agree. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, the movie's fine. If you like action stuff, put it on in the background.
There you go.
Fine.
And the only other thing that you've watched, Dan, is Reacher.
I watched first season of Reacher, finished that off. I've never watched it before, and I mean, I've been on a Mission Impossible, Jason Statham kick, and I was like, all right, I just need to see more people get what they deserve. And Reacher season 1, people get what they fucking deserve.
I was gonna say, he gives people what they fucking deserve.
I told you, my favorite part of watching Reacher is like, some dumbass will say something real stupid to him, like threaten him, and my first thought is always like, he's gonna kill your dumbass. And then he does it.
And he does.
And I'm just satisfied. As a viewer, I'm satisfied. Because
now you understand that guy's campaigning to be Batman in the
I
DCU.
don't understand why it hasn't been done. Like, he
could do it without question.
Perfect for Batman.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I would say is maybe a negative is he's maybe too big to be Batman.
He's a little too
because he's too big to be Bruce Wayne, I think is the problem. Because
it would be hard for him to hide, like, being that bulky, He
could have been. He probably would have meant better to be Superman. To be fair,
I mean,
oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
Affleck really, really bulked up for Batman,
and
in almost the same way. But this guy is bigger.
He's just a big guy.
He's built like a house,
of him
dude.
standing next to somebody, you're just like, Jesus Christ. But I think maybe that's the only problem is he's too big to be Bruce Wayne. Because a lot of problems when you have with these superhero movies is that you have to cast someone who could be both.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult. And like, I use Spider-Man as a perfect example because like Tobey was a great Peter Parker and an okay Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield was a bad Peter Parker and a good Spider-Man.
Good Spider-Man.
And Tom Holland fucking threaded the needle and he hit it. Like he nails it. So, but like Batman, he's probably just too big to be Bruce, and maybe that's why I don't believe it. Because Christian Bale is Bruce Wayne, like by far.
He's a very good Bruce Wayne. His Batman, for me,
it's okay. It's good.
Was great when it started and deteriorated over time with those movies.
Well, the
third one he gets off the rails. Yeah. Whereas like we've talked before, like I shockingly really liked Ben Affleck Batman. So
he was a great.
But I also thought
Batman.
he nailed Bruce Wayne very well.
Yeah, he was a great Batman because he finally got hard Batman.
Yeah,
like,
but like he wasn't Bruce Wayne, and I think that's
a different
probably
kind of
why.
Bruce Wayne. Yeah,
well, I think that's probably why it worked. Is there wasn't a lot of scenes where he was Bruce Wayne in those movies, but the scenes that he was a pretty good Bruce Wayne.
And he was a different kind. He was more of the like. Not the Playboy one that Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne was trying to be.
Yeah,
he was more of the like calculating like businessman Bruce Wayne kind of a thing. Like,
whereas I always say like Clooney was a great Bruce Wayne.
Sure,
he's a terrible Batman.
No, awful Batman.
Very good Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
So like on the flip side, like that probably is what makes that like cameo at the end of Flash very fun. So.
Yeah,
is him showing up as Bruce Wayne. Yeah, you get a good Bruce Wayne showing up. So, but
Reacher's fucking great. I'm on season 2. It's already fucking great.
I need to finish watching it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
We can kick it over to emails. We got a variety of emails this week. First one we got comes to us from Brad from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Hi, guys. Not sure if this has been asked before, but what do you all think are some of the most overrated video games of all time? Like something either critics overwhelmingly said was good that you just didn't click with, or a game that had a high word of mouth and you just couldn't get into it. Thanks. I see you've already written some stuff down, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have written some stuff down. Why don't you go first, man?
Elden Ring and anything Batman related.
You like any of the Arkham games?
Nope. Okay. I have tried playing all 3 of them. I just can't get into them, which is
4 of them.
Oh, my bad.
Ooh, yeah.
4 of them. Whoop-de-doo. No, I can't get into any of them. And maybe
Elden Ring I can understand.
Yeah, Elden Ring, I really am trying because I've heard great things about it. And I know some of the boss battles are like pretty big and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I want to get into it, but like I've actively tried multiple times and I just cannot get into it. And then Batman, I don't know why. I've heard great things about all the Arkham series. I just, again, can't get into it, man. Like, nothing against them. If you like those games, great for you. Just not for me.
I'm kind of with you. Like, I love the first game because I think the first game is a much more focused Metroid experience. You are meant to go here and do this to unlock this to come back.
I think the first one is the best one.
Arkham City is, I finished it, but I will say that's where it like kind of started to fall off for me because it felt like it was too much. It is
like that game is overwhelming compared to the first one.
And then Arkham Knight says, "Hey, go fuck yourself."
Here's a Batmobile that's not fun to drive,
and like the Riddler stuff is even more convoluted somehow. It just it really just tries to ramp it up because it doesn't know what else to do.
This totally original villain that we created is not actually a totally original villain.
It's a villain
Yeah.
Pretty well.
The thing I called before the game came out, and they were like, no, it's not that.
At least it wasn't the fucking Joker, dude.
Hey, man.
But
that's a different game.
That's different. But yeah, I'm kind of with you where like by the time night rolled around, I was kind of like, I'll play it, but I'm not itching to play it. Whereas like City, I was into it until I got halfway through it and I was like, man, it just keeps going.
It becomes a lot.
Just keeps going.
It does.
And the city's such a weird shape in City. I think that's what drove me the craziest. Because remember, it's like a U. It's not. It's weird. You can't go straight across the top of the map. You have to go down the map.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
That's not how this should be designed.
That makes me not want to play it more.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go into depth on one of these because it's been beaten to death, but Last of Us Part 2. I don't need to say more. But the other one I put on here is Deathloop. The critics fucking went nuts and hard on this game when it came out. It was one that like I didn't even have it reserved. And then it got all these 9s and 10s. It's probably the last game that I fell for the critic, like really fell for the critic reception and was like, man, I'm going to have to get this, and went out and bought it and played like maybe 2 hours of it. Just could not get into it.
Yeah.
I played like 8 or 10 hours and I just kind of fell off it. I should go back.
You got further into it than I did.
It's the kind of game I should like. And I don't know why I stopped playing.
That was the thing. It's like, it's more of your type of game and you could get it. Like, that's the funny thing.
It took me a while.
And I already was like on the fence because like I'm not a huge fan of the Dishonored games to begin with. Like I played the first one, didn't care for it. I never played the second one for that reason. And then there's the only game from that studio I ever liked was Prey. Even though it's a wildly different game than the original Prey, but and I will say the bits of Redfall I've played I've actually enjoyed, oddly enough, but
you'll love it more when it comes to PS5, right?
Yeah. Right. But Deathloop, it
was a good one.
Major bummer and a disappointment.
That's a good one because the critics were like, I remember because we were working at the store. We were working at the store when it came out, or I was at the very
Deathloop?
least. Yeah. No,
Deathloop was 2021, man.
Was it?
Yes.
How do I have that Deathloop?
It's a PS5 game.
I guess you're right, but I just remember, I've lost track of time. But
COVID killed all the time.
That's true. COVID murdered time.
It did in a bad way.
I just remember seeing like 9s and 10s, and I was like, man, I guess I fucking have to buy it. And then I just couldn't get. I don't hate it, but I couldn't get it.
Well, remember, it was one of the that was one of the last 2 Bethesda exclusives for PS5. Right. It was that, and it was Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which the little bit I played at Ghostwire Tokyo I actually like. I just never went back to it. But Deathloop, I just man, what a bummer.
That's a good one. I've got a couple ones I've talked about before, and I'm on record for saying this. Like, Super Mario 64 sucks. It's not a good game. If you like it, fine. But I just think
I don't think I didn't.
Even
I
at the time, I did not like it.
Okay.
Because it's just something about. I just do not like that game. And sticking on the Nintendo path, I've talked about it before. Breath of the Wild, I don't get it. I'm sorry, I don't get it. It's too much. It's far too much.
Like the funny thing is I've done the same exact thing with Tears of the Kingdom that I did with Breath of the Wild, which is I dumped 50, 60 hours into it, and then I will go back to it at some point. I did the same thing for Breath of the Wild. I put it down for 2 years, and then I went back and dumped 150 hours and completed it. Which the real reason I haven't got back to Tears of the Kingdom is there's that cross fingers hopes it'll play better on Switch too. But I agree. I understand. It is an overwhelming amount. And Tears of the Kingdom is even worse.
I like my Zelda games. And, it's just like Batman. I like my Zelda game focused. I have no problem playing open world games. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, incredible game. One of my favorite games. Zelda, I cannot stand. And I told you, I even went back, last year and tried to play it again. And I can't do it. And then the last one I thought of, just because I remember it being a big deal at the time, Assassin's Creed 1. Remember, everybody was like, holy shit, this game's you can climb up and down and run around and all this other stuff.
Enjoying it, but I wasn't super hyped.
No, I think that game sucks.
I love the first 2.
I think the first one's terrible, and I think 2 2 fixes everything that 1. 2 was the game 1 should have been.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. 1 just seemed. And I remember everybody, because I was working at Game Crazy at the time. I want to say, right? That was 2007. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay, something around there.
It was 2007.
Yeah. And I just remember everybody was like, "Oh, it's so great!" And I was like, "All right, I guess I'll play it."
It was
played
the same.
A couple hours of it, and I was like, "Holy shit, it's boring! It's so boring." Hey, go to this town and listen in on this guy's conversation. Cool. Go to this town and run around and collect these flags. Wow, how neat! Guess what? Do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. This is fucking dumb. I hate this. 2 at least gave you a sense of, I'm rebuilding this town. I'm investing the money. There's that actual kind of storyline. Whereas 1, it was the apple. Remember Desmond the apple? You're in the Animus. And they don't bother to explain half of that shit. And then by the time they finally resolve it at the end of the 3 trilogy, guess what? It was total bullshit. And it's
remember they had a trilogy within a trilogy because everybody loved your buddy Ezio so much.
And those are fine because those 3 are good games.
Yeah.
But 1 is bad, 3 is okay, and then they sum it up by he talks to God and the light kills him. I don't even fucking remember. It's so dumb. But Assassin's Creed.
I got another one.
Hang on, real quick though. Assassin's Creed. The only time I ever felt validated by that was back in the day. EGM. Remember they used to have 3 people review games.
Yes.
It was the EGM scores for that. I'm gonna get them wrong, but I want to say they were 9, 8, and the one guy gave it a 3.5, and I was finally somebody fucking gets it. because that's about what that game was for me.
The other one I'm going to add here, and I know you're going to agree, but at the time, the reviews for it were high. We all bought it. There was massive hype around it.
Oh, no.
You have played it recently. Dead Island.
Oh, yes.
Because it was sold. It's almost like it was a game that was sold on a lie. Like for the trailer did not match what the game actually was. Mm-hmm. But even if you put that aside, it is a game where like that first initial like outside of the island, like really fun, interesting, very fun to play in co-op, and then you start getting into the island, and it just fucking sucks.
Platinumed that game last year. It just like it grinds to a halt. You hit that city part, and it's nothing but
sucks.
Fetch quest backtracking bullshit, and then you have to go through the sewers, and that's more bullshit. And then you go through the jungle, and the jungle is just a giant open empty map, and it's just like, man, that game sucked. And thank God we got that guy to drop in and give us those boosted weapons. Otherwise, maybe we'd still be playing it.
I say this as someone who has a sealed copy of Dead Island 2 for PS5. So
hey, I'm coming.
One day
we'll get there. We'll get there one day.
I want to look at it.
We got what are we on now?
It's more of a curiosity because I just want to see.
I think we're on Dying Light next.
I would think because the last one you did was Riptide.
Yeah, that game sucks. Okay,
then I think. Because you have those to do, so there's Dying Light.
Because we're going chronological zombie co-op shooter. So next week goes Dying Light 2, Dead Island 2.
There you go.
Gotcha. With some breaks in between. Borderlands 4 will slip in there.
You gotta. Next email we have comes to us from Kelsey from Lincoln, Nebraska. Howdy 572 crew. The last episode you guys have been in the last few episodes you guys have been doing a real kick-ass job with game recommendations for people in different genres. I have a question in that same vein. Since I know some of you have children, where have you found a good place to start to introduce your kids into games? For reference, I have a 5-year-old son, and while he's seen my husband and I play some stuff like Mario, he's only recently found a large interest in trying to play games with us. Outside of Mario, what would you all recommend trying? This question is more for you two.
Yeah, I mean,
I think personally, so my youngest son is on a Nintendo kick where he's playing Sonic, Mario, Super Smash, and then Pikmin, of course. But for me, I didn't give the controllers to any of my kids to start playing games with them. If they asked when they got older, typically around 5 and 6, I'd let them play whatever I was playing, as long as it was family friendly. Like for a while there, I was so into Grand Theft Auto that I told my kids, because they were younger, I was leave the room. I would go take a car, and I would come back, and I would allow them to drive the city. But I would tell them they'd have to stay on the roads and they had to follow the laws. So they'd stop at stoplights and they'd move forward and all kinds of stuff like that. And I was like, and if you got out of your car, you weren't allowed to take another one. You had to get back into the car that I got you, and that was it. I think though, introducing them to maybe if they want to play stuff with you, more family oriented stuff, what was it, Mario Party?
Yeah,
those kind of games, Mario Karts, even even the karting games in general.
I think a good thing to do, and kind of how I worked it out, because I have a son around the same age, a little older, is try to find games where there isn't necessarily a punishment for making mistakes.
Exactly.
Even the 2D Mario games, they come back in a bubble. Or the Kirby games, those are designed for you to really not die.
Right.
You come back. Minecraft isn't. I know it's kind of a lame answer, but Minecraft's a really good one too, because it really gives them. You put them in there and you turn on creative mode, and you give them the freedom to kind of play around, as much of a punishment or anything. You can put on creative mode and they won't die, and they can learn how to help them learn controls and stuff like that.
That's important to know too. Creative mode, there's no way for you to,
but it helps them
fly around,
learn how to use a controller and where the buttons are and get used to it and that kind of stuff. We did other stuff Stardew Valley and farming sims where you can just kind of run around and teach and work together. Smash Brothers is fun too, because it is just kind of you can mess around and have fun. But I think working together was something that I really try to do the most of. But I'm kind of the opposite of Matt, where I'm a bad parent, where like I'd play Fallout in front of my kids, and they'd be like, "What's that? A zombie and stuff?" Yeah, but that's kind of how I was raised too. Like,
well, I can't say much. I was at a pawn shop the other day looking at new guns and stuff like that, and my youngest, was like, "Zombie killer."
Yeah,
and I was like,
my son's
maybe I should stop playing these.
Really into zombies, so he's seen me play Fallout and all that
but
kind of stuff.
Dan, isn't your son the one that came up to you and said something to you directly about Diablo?
He calls it the devil game. He's watched me play Diablo. Okay. He loves it.
Okay.
I've let him, to be honest, play it because I'm like, you can just run around and push this button. And Diablo, like, maybe the cutscenes and stuff are graphic, but when you're actually playing the game,
it's not.
It's top down. Everything's super far away. Things like dissipate.
But yeah, I think honestly, if you have kids, I think it's best to try and, like you were saying, play games that don't allow them. I guess you say, like, don't punish them for failing in a way, so that they don't feel like that anger every time they die. But also just like playing into colors, man. Like anything that's colorful and vibrant is also going to help them. Like want to just kind of see.
That's why Kirby's a really good one too, because Kirby has co-op where like you can play as Kirby and do most of the stuff, and they can run around as a Waddle Dee and do all of the other stuff. And then that's a really easy game for them to transition into being the co-op partner to being the main character.
Okay.
So like my kids love that game. They play that together. That's how they've learned to play a lot of Nintendo games, is by Kirby. They've completed that game. Like I didn't even complete that game. Like they have 100%ed that game. Working together and stuff. And then like Mario Odyssey they have too, which is crazy to say.
Oh yeah.
They play a lot of Mario Odyssey. But yeah, stuff that you can play together that's a cooperative, like helpful experience that doesn't punish is the best stuff. At least for me.
Agreed. Hope that helps.
I hope so.
Kelsey. Yeah. Let us know if that
seems like an easy answer, but like it's really what we did.
Not to, and like I think it's probably different for every other, for every person as well. Like a lot of it just would be, at least if I had kids, it'd just be whatever they discover that they kind of lean into.
Yeah,
So
well, and then you can use that to build in other stuff. Like he likes Diablo, the concept of it. So we played. I was like, oh, you know what, man? Like I have Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 for Switch. That is that game. But it's with all your superhero friends, and it's got 80 superheroes, and you can pick and choose, and we can play it together. And there's really not a punishment for messing up in that game. So
for sure. Next email we have comes to us from Grant from Columbus, Ohio. Hey dudes, I'm curious, with all this tariff business going on, I've been seeing some doomsday reporting that it could actually be the final nail in the coffin for physical media. Considering most physical media is printed within Mexico, do you think that if these go through, that it's even a possibility that it could kill what's left of physical media? I don't want to see it go, and I know you guys don't, but man, it would really suck if this is what ends up killing it completely. Again, like, and I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but it really depends on how it goes. But there is totally a way where I could see it being the end. I mean, we've talked about before, like Microsoft's done.
The problem is we're halfway there.
We're halfway there, but like, look at a prime example. Point out is like, look at the collector's edition of Tony Hawk. So if you buy that collector's edition for the Xbox, it's a digital code, and then the board. If you buy the PlayStation version, you get an actual physical game.
Right.
So they're just done.
Look at a Valve. Valve did the same thing.
Yeah, Valve, you can buy a $95 version that I think it has a steelbook too, but there's no game.
Right.
So,
and I mean, the one thing that's really going to keep physical media alive is Japan. They will continue to make like PlayStation discs and Nintendo cartridges. Like if Nintendo's, like, obviously Nintendo's sticking with cartridges for that kind of stuff. Yeah, those aren't going away anytime soon.
Not at all.
Because Nintendo also refuses to put big enough hard drives or memory space in their fucking systems, so I really can't just everything be digital. But we're getting close, and like, look at Best Buy doesn't carry movies anymore.
No.
And if you go look at video games there, they don't exist. It's a shit selection. Target's all but empty. Walmart has a shitty case run by people who don't know anything about video games, so it's not in any kind of order. Like, it's just,
you're very lucky. Like sometimes you'll find like good clearance deals at Walmart because they're just trying to clear out stuff, but it also comes with the price of they're just clearing shit out.
Well, and here's the other signifier of the times. Kyle, you bought a PS5 Pro.
Yeah, it doesn't. I had to buy a disc drive
Exactly.
separate. So
even Sony, without saying it, that's where they're moving to. And
it's where they're moving to, but I also think that the PS6 will have the option, but I think it's going to be the same thing.
I think it depends on how far away it is.
True.
Let's say they make these systems last until 2030. Then maybe it is. I know. I don't think it is either. But let's say they do.
2020.
But let's say they do. Let's say it's 29 or 30. Maybe it doesn't have one.
Maybe at that point,
you know, and it's just there's a bigger drive in it because we know it. And like as someone who loves physical,
determine
I have a ton of
the most recent time they talked about it was like digital sales now count for like 75%.
It's a high number.
Something like that.
Yeah,
and it's a high number. Again, it's because you want to play. Matt wants to play WWE, you know, a week early, digital release, whatever, or a week early. He's got to get it digital. He's got to download it, and it unlocks at the exact time it's supposed to unlock.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing too, because I was like, I was telling my friend, I hadn't paid attention to getting that edition, like the Bloodline edition, and I was like looking, and I was like, oh man, maybe there's a physical. Nope. Like I would have to just get the regular game and then like upgrade it, and I was like, but why?
Hey man, my baseball game this year, there's not a collector's anymore. There's a regular and there's a digital deluxe. That's it. It's like
essentially, yeah. I think physical media is definitely going out the door.
It's almost over.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate it, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
I told you, I just literally bought a new shelving unit to house my movies, so that I need to put together. So
well, and look at like Blu-rays and stuff. Like if you don't reserve them, they're hard to get after the fact.
Well, I can go through the Odyssey of Nosferatu. Like I reserved that on physical probably end of January, and that came out. The release was February 18th. I didn't get my copy of that movie until last Saturday,
right? Because
it was so far back ordered, and it was the kind of thing where like I even went out and went to a couple different stores, and they were sold out of it.
Well, because the problem is while the production quantity isn't there, the demand is still there.
It's still there.
And it's getting crazier because people like us are left looking for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And look at like weird one-off video games. We talked about this for even when we worked at GameStop. It was true. You want a weird thing? If you don't reserve we're probably not getting it. And then I can't tell you. If
there was ever one of those kids that would come in and ask for something that you knew was just kind of this weird one-off, like
random RPG,
I would tell them right away, hey man, if we get this, we're getting one copy that I'm gonna have to gut.
Right.
So you might as well reserve it so we don't have to gut it.
Right. And it was crazy trying to talk those kids into that stuff because it's like, I'm trying to help you. Like,
yeah,
you don't.
I'm not trying to make a sale here. I'm just trying to tell you, like, if you don't do this, this is how you're going to get the game.
Right. If we get it,
and if somebody else doesn't have it,
and that's why these days, like, I wanted that Suikoden remaster. Hell yeah, I pre-ordered because I can't risk that thing not existing anymore. The lunar thing is a bullshit thing that's happening right now.
That's the dumbest one.
And I took it's you have it reserved, but maybe you don't.
I have one with Amazon, but they have not opened them up since.
Right, they've been gone.
I still feel like they will.
They put out some FAQ that said, "Don't worry about it. We're not going to limit it." I don't believe you, because the demand for a physical Lunar remaster is nowhere near high enough to not limit the amount of copies you're making.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want a physical copy of it. So now I have a calendar reminder in my fucking phone that this is the day it's supposed to turn on Amazon. Like, this is ridiculous because I want to pay you money for your game.
Yeah.
But is the cost and everything worth it for them? Maybe not.
That one is weird to me because it's handled through Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon only
currently kind of sucks at
right.
It might be one of those things where it's just going to have to come down to you'll have to, get it through PMP games or something down the line.
Yeah, maybe they'll get a batch somehow or whatever.
Or something.
But I've got you and I've got another buddy. I was like,
if you see it every day.
If you see it, just buy it. And I will pay you the money.
I check it literally every day.
I do too. I'm at work, pull it up on my computer. It's not available. Of course not.
Yep.
Stupid.
Morris from River Park, Florida. High 572 crew. With it seeming like we are going to get another Batman game, I'm curious, what do you all want out of a new Batman game? Should they continue with the Arkham universe? Should they start a new storyline with a younger Batman and bring back Roger Craig Smith? Should they do Batman Beyond? The possibilities seem endless.
This is Kyle's expertise.
I know the rumor out there is Batman Beyond, which like I'm not upset by that if that's what they do. They did, as far as I know, that VR game that just came out that is set in the Arkham universe, they did bring back Roger Craig Smith, but I think, and I'm sure that game's fine. I don't have a Batman game can't compel me to buy a fucking VR. So let's put it that way.
Very little that would ever make me do it.
Because it'd be the only thing I would ever play. That's why I won't buy it, because I know I would play through and be like, hey, that was pretty cool. Well, I never have to use this again. Like,
there you go.
Well, I think that was a cool idea. Like, I don't think we need to continue anything Arkham related. Like, I think even though I know it's set in the Arkham universe, I think Suicide Squad kind of killed what was left of that universe. So
that, and like,
I think
the Gotham Knights misstep, and it's just
the
like
misstep. I think there was enough there that it's like, no, they need to do something different.
We need to burn the whole thing down, start it over.
I think, I think a Batman Beyond game would be cool.
That'd be a great way to go.
I'd be down. I'd be down for that. It'd be something unique and different.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the way he flies around in Batman Beyond, be kind of almost like you're getting your Superman game you'll never get.
Yeah,
in a way, right? Like, so that is the direction I would take it. So I like, if those rumors are true, I'm excited for that. But also, it's the kind of thing where I hope they just take their time. Like, we don't need to rush it. I don't want them to take 8 years like Suicide Squad, but take their time. So. Luke from Victoria, Texas. Howdy, guys. Not sure if this has been asked before, but lately you guys have been talking and recommending old RPGs. If there's one dormant RPG franchise that you could bring back from the dead, what would it be and why? I'll let you go first, Matt, because you actually have something written down.
Yeah, man, Jade Cocoon, dude. I think the idea behind like merging creatures you've captured is a pretty cool concept. I mean, I know we've got like Pal World and we got tons of Pokemon games and Monster Hunter, but like it's not the same. Essentially, it's something different, and I think with what the ability to what we have now with that game you could have like endless possibilities of things that you could like put together and make. And I mean, it was a solid game. I mean, I definitely love to go back and replay through it. And when I do pull out all my old stuff, that's going to be one of the things I like to go back and play through. But I just feel like it's one of those things that isn't talked about. It's not a lot of people played it. Not a lot of people know about it. And I think it would be something really cool right now to bring out, especially with the idea behind a lot of people trying to like create and do like new things.
Yeah.
I think it'd be solid, personally.
I tried to dig deeper than the stereotypical answer is like, it'd be very easy for me to say Chrono Trigger, but I think we live in a time where there have been enough Chrono Trigger adjacent type games that have been made that like it's fine.
We were talking about that, like Sea of Stars scratches that itch. Crosscode kind of scratches that itch.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, like, there are games that do that, I think, very well. The one like I have two. And they're both PS1 era. One is RPG-ish, and the other one is an RPG. So we'll start with the RPG first, which would be Legend of Dragoon. I think that's an excellent RPG that never got the recognition it deserved, and there's never a sequel. Never like it's weird because that is a Sony first-party game.
Well, they just put it on
never
the thing.
did anything else with it. You can play, and now it's patched, so I know it's a good version of it.
It's fixed.
So I'll probably look at it at some point because it's been probably 20 some years since I played it. But I think that would be something cool to resurrect, and you could do something completely different with it now. It could be adjacent to it. Like, it wouldn't have to be like, here's Legend of Dragoon 2. You could just do a new Legend of Dragoon, and I think that would be awesome. The other one, and we've talked about this franchise before, and it is RPG-ish, and that would be Parasite Eve.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy to me in 2025 that still just lays dormant. like completely 100%.
Well, the last one was that PSP one, which wasn't really a Parasite Eve
the
game.
third, but if you want to count that game, but that game
It's a long
is
time
not.
ago.
Yeah, it's really not a Parasite.
It's not.
It is in the sense you play as her, but it's not like what you
take
want
over
it
like
to be.
people's minds and stuff. It's crazy.
It's a weird fucking game. So I think those two, like from that specific era, Parasite Eve especially, I think would be really cool, and it was unique at the time. We've never really gotten anything like it since, like in that weird, like horror vein. Like the only other thing I can think of is that weird Kodelka game that I have, but those kind of morphed into the Shadow Hearts series. So it'd be cool. So I would like to see Legend of Dragoon though. It's so weird to me, like because that's like I said, Sony just kind of made that game and abandoned. Like we're out of that. So what about you, dude?
So I've got two that are kind of games I don't talk about a ton, but I talk about them sometimes. But one of them I'd like to see a Dark Cloud 3. Like a lot of people would. I love those games on PS2. Like I really like Dark Cloud 1. It's definitely harder to play than Dark Cloud 2 is, because Dark Cloud 2 really kind of fixes a lot of stuff and really kind of like livens it up, makes it more fun. I'd be interested to see what we could do with a game like that now. I think that'd be very cool.
It'd be cool.
The other one I would love to see I mean, hell, I don't even need a new one. I would just like a remake or a remaster or something. But I want Golden Sun 1 and 2 to come back. And I want 1 and 2 to come back as one game, because it is one game. Like the Golden Sun 1 ends very much at a, guess what, you need to play another 80-hour RPG to finish this game. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. But like if that could come back on like Switch 2 as one game, like remade, Golden Sun Collection or Anniversary or Golden Sun Definitive, whatever the fuck it is. I want that, because they did make a 3 on DS. It wasn't very good. It was missing something about those games. But Golden Sun 1 and 2 like are just, they're perfect like Super Nintendo era RPGs. Like there's nothing wrong with them. They have, I love those games. And
they didn't even put those out on the like
they don't exist anywhere.
Thing? Okay.
That's the craziest part. And like I'm fairly positive they're a Nintendo game.
I'm pretty sure they're
made by Camelot for Nintendo.
But I think they're published by Nintendo.
Right. Like they're Nintendo games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would love to have that back. Maybe I don't necessarily want like a sequel right now.
Sure.
But yes,
how about a package of 1 and 2?
Yes, I'm saying like Golden Sun Definitive Edition or Golden Sun Collection or whatever you want to do it. But
yeah, so developed by Camelot, published by Nintendo.
Yeah, they're Nintendo games. Like, where the fuck are they? Like, I don't trust Nintendo to give me anything I ever want, but where the hell are they?
Mother 3?
I'm not even going to mention that because it's just frustrating.
That's a good one though, because I thought at least those were on that digital like NES Classic, or not Classic, but the like service you subscribe to. I'm fairly
positive they're not,
but
maybe they are. I don't know, but like
I forget I even subscribe to that service, and then it renews every year. I'm like, oh, that's right, because it's $20, so it's not. I just got my email.
Deal. I was like, oh yeah, okay,
that's fine.
I was talking about another thing that's good for kids to play. That.
Oh yeah,
I always tell them like, hey man, you want to play? Like, go in here. There's tons of good old
tons
good games.
Of classic games. They're all good, and they're good versions.
Mario's are in there. Yeah, it's all good.
Classics.
But yeah, good. Our final email comes to us from Pierce from Cedar City, Utah. Hey guys, just wanted to say it's really cool to see someone out there talking positively about Avowed. I heard your comments on it last week and watched the video you put up on it. I have to say I 100% agree. I don't understand the severe hate around this game either. I'm 30 hours in and I'm really enjoying my time with it. I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece or anything, but I've just had a really fantastic time with it. So yeah, I will
Good
say
job, Pierce.
I put a video up about it earlier this week and there were a lot of comments on that video. And it's a divisive game that I feel like it shouldn't be a divisive game.
No.
So like at all. And there are people that straight up that just hate the game. And I don't get it. So
I'm looking forward to playing it on PS5.
I am at the point, like I told you, I would totally buy this on PS5 when it comes out because I would like to put it on my shelf.
Yeah.
And I really hope there's
a physical copy of it. Yeah.
They're not doing a physical copy of Forza. I don't know if you saw that. That is digital only.
I'm not surprised.
So
Wouldn't shock
they
me.
might just be like, fuck it, and all this stuff's digital. So
I don't know. Avowed is a new big release that they
yeah,
would.
and I don't think they'll do that for indie. I feel like they want to sell that because
Right.
there is a physical copy of indie you can go buy.
Yeah, and Forza's like we talked about. Forza's 4 years old. Like
Mhm.
they don't need to make a physical copy.
They don't
of
need
that.
to print new
They don't
copies
need to
of
make
a 4-year-old game.
But they do have, like we talked about before, they do have a precedent set where they do publish stuff through limited run. So maybe they wait.
True.
Maybe they wait to build up 3 games that are
The
going to come
PS5
out, and then they've
version,
got
and
3
then,
more
yeah.
of them that they can put in.
Yeah.
Something like that.
True.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But that wraps up emails for us. As always, send your emails to podcast572@gmail.com. Otherwise, we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thank you for listening or watching.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.